call this meeting to order. Sheriff, please.
All rise. Benton County Commission is now in session.
Mr. Nunnery, would you give invocation, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here safely. Thank you for letting us all join together and make these decisions. Please bless us with our wisdom and strength to do the right things. Please be with all of our people who are suffering with the pandemic and different things going on. All these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Hopper, would you lead us in that pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Yes, you need to call.
Angie Hearn, Don Patton, Board Plan, Dana Ferguson, Kenneth Miller,
Here.
Rocky Preston, Talia Dye, Norman Frazier, Jerry Farr, Dwayne Fowler,
Here.
Sunny Hall, Phil Melton,
Oh, we didn't say connected enough. Wait,
Oh,
is she there?
yeah, she's in Talia. She's there. Okay, I thought you said,
Mark
sorry.
President.
No, Mark.
She needs to-
Can you mark present? Can you hear me? Okay, thank you.
Powers. Powers is present.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Powers.
Phil Melton.
No, still no.
Rochelle Hill, Mike Nunnery, Roseanne Ward, Darrell Hicks, Ronnie Hopper, and Mary Powers.
Mary Powers is here. Yeah.
And
Bill has a kidney stone. You let me know that this afternoon, so he probably won't be here.
No.
We need to pray for him.
Yes, we do.
Ronnie, you talk to Darrell?
Did you talk to Darrell?
Nope.
Nope.
15 present and 3 absent.
He's got kidney stones, huh?
Okay, we do have a
Runs in
quorum.
the family.
So the next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Need to make a motion.
Okay,
Need to
I
make a motion.
recognize
Fraser, 3rd District, need to make a motion to suspend from the agenda resolution number 1. I need a second.
We have a second.
I'll take mine.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Frazier and a second by Commissioner Ferguson. But we need to pause just a minute for the clerk to catch up with us.
He made the motion, so. Is there any motion to say anybody's on? Okay, so accept the motion. What do you do? All right, so take it in. I think so.
We're going to suspend this, right?
Well, it's not actually suspend. I think it would be ruled as we're going to bump it off of the agenda.
So, spin the rules.
We're going to actually take it off the agenda. We're not suspending the rules, taking it off.
On agenda 1?
So we have a motion and a second. The floor is open for discussion. If anybody wants to ask anything about that, or if Mr. Frazier wants to explain why he's bumping this off.
Does anybody need an explanation from Mr. Fraser?
this went to without recommendation for budget.
Chairman, I apologize. What's the conversation about?
We have, before we are, after number 4 on the agenda, next was the approval of the agenda. But before the approval, we've had a motion to bump resolution number 1 off the agenda. And we have a second.
Now, is that in order to bump the resolution off before we get to it?
We can, before the agenda is approved, we can bump it off.
Would it be in order to have the conversation about the resolution 1 right now?
That's what,
Okay.
It's open for discussion.
yeah, it's open for discussion.
So discuss.
Yeah, I'll recognize you, Mr. Preston, if you'd like to speak on that.
Yes, I would. I was the maker of the resolution.
Yes.
And let me reach for it. I wasn't expecting it quite this soon. I'll start out, Chairman, that I appreciate the conversation that we're having about this resolution. That was part of the intent of it, that was to talk about it. I'm going to go to the very last paragraph, everybody. The last paragraph states, our Benton County Mayor, Benton County Trustee, Sherry Beasley, give great consideration to the study and the research of the benefits and or harm of investing all Benton County investment dollars only in banks who properly pay Benton County excise tax. This resolution makes no mandate. This changes no policy and doesn't cost the county 1 cent. It simply asks for an investigation, a discovery of the numbers and the facts in this resolution, and to report back the findings to us. In fact, they don't even have to report back to us. They can leave this resolution laying on their desk if they want to. Our county trustees, our mayor, are being asked with this resolution, is it likely, is there opportunity for the county to receive additional revenues generating more county dollars by investing almost 19 million county dollars into banks that pay our county 96.3% of all excise tax? It's just a question. So maybe we lose revenue from interest earned. Maybe there's a 1/10 or 0.2% difference in the interest. Is it possible to make the difference up? And in addition, increase the revenues when the investment bank writes Benton County a check for excise tax? I do not know what 19 million county investment dollars would bring this county in excise tax. A little more. I remind everyone, March 2020, Apex Bank wrote our county 1 check for excise tax in the amount of $475,000. And I say this to Mr. Kill and Mr. John is here, was here a few minutes ago, there he is, and to Harold Bank and Trust. If you've not done anything wrong, your bank has filed all the reports proper, my next segment ain't about show. A message to the banks that are not properly reporting their Benton County earnings to the Tennessee State Department of Revenue excise tax, your actions are no longer a secret. Chairman, I yield the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do we have any other? Okay, I recognize the mayor.
And for those that attended the budget committee meeting, we discussed this in depth, and I think you heard us say that the resolution was probably made in good spirit. It was probably that this was something that would benefit the county, and it done per se the way it was drawn up in the resolution. That hey, I understand it. Invest county dollars within the county itself. The problem is that probably the way the resolution is worded, it gives a misleading intent to our business community, our banking community, because the last sentence says, whom are properly paying Benton County excise taxes. So properly means that if we're not in agreement, then are they improperly paying taxes? It doesn't mean that they're improperly paying taxes. And what Donna Barrett will probably tell you later tonight is we've been vetting this process of how excise taxes are paid and how they flow through the state and back to the county for almost a year. And all of that process was really driven and generated by Commissioner Preston. You know, he began looking at the numbers and saying something is not right within our budgets. Why aren't we getting more excise taxes? And so that pursuit of the truth brought Apex to the floor and made them realize, hey, there's a flaw. We reported our taxes. And so we've been finding that this goes up to the state, and the state doesn't have the data to allocate it back. So Apex was worked on particularly, and that's why that great big check was written. So if you would have asked Apex prior to that time, they'd have said, hey, we're properly reporting. You know, we're not doing anything wrong. And again, you've got to let the process play out through all levels of government. Again, this is something that goes to the state of Tennessee and back to Benton County. And if the state of Tennessee doesn't have the data properly presented to them, then, okay, they're not going to know how much to give Benton County. So the flaw is in the state of Tennessee putting teeth behind their particular excise tax reporting. And so, again, we've uncovered a lot of information, and thanks to the help of Donna Barrett, and we're still going to continue pushing this. But I just think the question here isn't to remove it from the agenda, because the discussion is valid. I just think the request should have been, would Commissioner Preston consider pulling his motion, as it just maybe not written in a way that the community can absorb and you as commissioners can absorb. But I will say, and we discussed this in the budget, it's just not written properly. It gives a misleading signal to our business communities, and whether it be a bank or any taxpayer out in Benton County, that they're not doing things over and above board when they probably are, but the hang up is somewhere else, maybe beyond their control. And maybe it penalizes them in the process the way the resolution's drawn up. Now, I will say that the county trustee has a revenue committee, and that revenue committee is made up, that's her committee. She determines who's on that committee and where our county dollars get invested. I'm more than happy to get involved in that. I don't know if I can actually inject myself into her committee, her authority. But again, this is something that we're currently on, and I don't know if you want to strike it from the agenda because the discussion's good. Mr. Killen is here. He may want to say a word when that comes up on the agenda during the discussion, but I would think the proper thing to say, would you consider pulling this for a later consideration or rewrite or something that we educate ourselves on?
Mr. Killen is on the citizens forum, so he will be speaking before we ever got to the resolution.
Chairman, would it be in order for me to speak now?
Yes. Does anyone oppose for Mr. Killen to come forth and speak? Okay, no one opposes. So, Mr. Killen, would you come forth, please?
Can you hear me here, or do I need to come on up?
Please come on up.
I think most of you know me. Maybe there are a few that don't. My name's John Killen. I've been banking for 23 years, 18 of those in Benton County, Bank of Huntington, First Bank, and Carroll Bank since we opened it in 2006. Commissioner Preston has known me since I was 14 or 15 years old, so I promise this is nothing towards you. This is simply, I was made aware of this morning, and when I read it, the exact paragraph that our mayor and Commissioner Preston brought up, I took exception to the very last sentence when it says, It's talking about investing money in banks in Benton County that tax it. I'll just read the entire sentence. It says, be resolved, the Board of Commissioners of the Benton County, Tennessee, assembled in regular session on the 19th day of January 2021, and that our Benton County Mayor, Brett Lashley, our Benton County Trustee, Sherry Beasley, give great consideration to study and research of the benefits and or harm of investing all Benton County investment dollars only in county banks whom are properly paying Benton County excise taxes, and greatly consider investing no dollars in banking entities whom are not properly paying excise taxes. That's not a factual statement. All of the banks in Benton County, I can't speak for all of them, but my assumption is that all of them are paying their excise taxes correctly, because you cannot be a business in operation and not pay your taxes that are due to the state of Tennessee. The Department of Revenue won't let you operate without paying your taxes. The banks don't distribute franchise and excise tax directly to the county. The check that came from Apex came from the state of Tennessee. It is issued from the state to the counties. Our bank paid $306,000 in excise taxes last year. We pay to the state of Tennessee. When we file a tax return, it's roughly 6.5% of our earnings is what determines what you pay in excise taxes. We pay it to the state of Tennessee. My understanding is, myself and the mayor, we hadn't heard this exactly the same, but I'm not saying he's wrong, and I'm not saying I'm right. But my understanding is that they distribute the money to the counties based on the deposits that those banks have in those counties. Apex Bank was the Bank of Camden. It's been here forever. When they report the majority of their deposits in Benton County because that is their main office. So it stands to reason that a higher percentage is going to come from them, whose main office is in Benton County, as our main office is in Huntington. First Bank's main office used to be in Lexington, now it's Nashville. And if they decided as a percentage of deposits, my bank branch here has about $30 million in deposits. My total bank has roughly 300. So that's 10% of our deposits. Our county got a check for $3,000, or maybe it was a little more, it might have been $3,700. Anyways, I'm using round numbers. It comes out to where what our county received was roughly 10% of the excise tax we paid to the state. So I take exception to the resolution in that I feel that it accuses not just my bank, but First Bank, Regions, of not paying their taxes, and that's just simply not true. This is not an issue for Benton County with Carroll Bank and Trust, Apex Bank, First Bank, Regions. This is an issue with Benton County, with the state of Tennessee, the Department of Revenue, on how they're distributing these funds. So that caused me, I sent every commissioner a letter today. I don't know if you got it or not. And I explained my thoughts on it. I apologize for the length of it. I'm not going to read it all to you, but I've hit the high notes for you. And this, I promise, I'm not against Apex. If our county decides to move every dime to Apex because they provide the best services, because they pay us the best rates, because they do the best job for us, that's great. I'm friends. I have a lot of friends at Apex. I have a lot of respect for them. Their bank is well run. It's the most profitable bank in the state of Tennessee. That's why they're paying. That doesn't mean they make the most money. This is a percentage of assets. They're very profitable. That's why their franchise and excise tax is so much. Bank of Camden made $23.1 million last year. We made $2.3 million. We have a different type of business plan. You know, our bank's very conservative. We don't make as much money. We don't take as many risks. Their bank does make a lot of money. The man that runs it, he's a really smart guy. Apparently they got a lot of smart guys because they know how to make a lot of money. But it stands to reason to me that a company making $21 million from the than another one would pay a considerable amount more in taxes. It doesn't stand to reason to me that you would make that as your basis for who you would choose to do business with. In my letter, I said, what kind of precedent does that set to small businesses? To me, it says we don't want small businesses. They don't add much to the tax base. Why we want them? And I worked at First Bank for a long time, in between Bank of Huntington and when we opened here. And for you to find a person that has given more to this county than Jim Ayers that owns First Bank, you'd have to look far and wide. I don't think you'd ever find one. I don't know how much money he gave for that Second Harvest building out there, but it was a lot more, I bet, than we're talking about right here. So I don't think this resolution is fair to my bank. I don't think it's fair to any of the other banks. And I really just don't think it's an intelligent conversation worth the county commission spending their time and effort on, because you're trying to get money from the wrong source. The right source is the state of Tennessee. Ask the state of Tennessee, why are we only getting this much from these other banks? I can tell you what our bank made. I'll tell you what we made here. I'll tell you what we made in Huntington. But that's not how they do it. They do it based on deposits. We send a call report in every quarter. They know how much we've got in deposits, and that's how they base the payments that they send to each county. I don't want to read through my whole letter. I don't know if there's anything I missed that I'm going to wish I would have said. But bottom line is, promise is nothing personal with you. Yes, I did take exception to it because I think you're spending time on something that you have no control over. You can complain to the state if you would like to complain to the state, but the states who you're complaining to, you do not need to be alienating. Have World Finance in here, and they serve a role that's important in our county too. They pay $2,700 to the county in excise tax. So I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's smart for the county commission to be alienating us, First Bank, Regions, any of them. So that's why I sent the letter. That's why I came. And thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Mr. Field.
Thank you, John. Your words are heard.
Commissioner?
Roseanne, can I respond, please?
No, sir, just a minute. We have Mr. Fowler is next in line to speak, and then you can run. Rocky, you'll need to push your laptop that you want to speak so that I know, okay?
Thanks for reminding me.
Thank you.
Mr. Gillum, he just put it out the same way I said. It ain't our decision to decide on what bank we deal with because of excise tax. I pay an excise tax with the LLC. It's nowhere near nothing to that nature. But it goes to the state and it's dispersed back. Just like I pay a business tax and we pay our sales tax to a small business. When we pay our sales tax this year, I think I paid almost $80,000 worth of sales tax through my small business, and the county will get most of that, but one business is one way and one's the other. But yeah, this is, I feel that just like he said, Mr. Ayers has done quite a bit for this area, and we shouldn't judge on what somebody pays excise and how much money they make. It's what they do for our county, and they kind of discovered everything I thought was way the state handles distributing that, like they had talked about. I'm not sure which way it goes, but I don't know if they base it on your homes, where your home office is, your HR is, or if they base it on, just percentage of how many banks you're on. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Mr. Preston, you're recognized.
Did you get mine on there? How much I want to speak? You said I have a second.
Well, it's off though. You must have hit it twice. But
No, I hit it once and then it went off for some reason, but I'd asked, you said I have a second. And I speak before Rocky does, and that way he doesn't spoke. I just want to say one thing. In no way are we throwing something at Mr. Kelly. He's my good buddy with Mr. Coates. I know him well. He's dead. But what Rocky's done, let me bring everybody, some of you are new here. Rocky started 2 years ago, and notice or income coming in. And he noticed the bank, at one time, they were paying $300,000 and $400,000 tax, and it just disappeared. Rocky got involved. I'll give you a little history showing you where he's at. He's not, in fact, the letter says itself. It's a suggestion we look. It's nothing telling, it's not a binding official because you approve this resolution. It don't say you've got to do it. It says make the mayor, what Rocky done for 2 years. I was with him involved in it. He called the state and they said, well, the reason the bank, we went to the bank, the bank said, well, when they buy property, it's say a bank comes out of Knoxville, which is a bank at Apex home office, and if they come down here and they make an investment, that money goes back to Knoxville. I don't know what, but anyway, Rocky stayed on this alone. That we got a check for $400,000 by him working through the state, and they done it right and said directly. They were wording it wrong on the paper somehow, but anyway, we got $400,000 due to Rocky. Never would have
Was
come.
that maybe back pay or something of that nature?
No, it wasn't because he noticed that they never paid it. They used to pay it, it just disappeared. So what happened here? He got involved with the state. I want to just bring you up to date. In no way would we criticize any bank. They're all our banks. We want them to prosper. All he's saying, we need to check and make sure, like he did. He worked during 2 years on getting that $400,000. Our sheriffs need cars. I would have bought his cars. But anyway, it's not criticizing the bank for wrong. In no way would he say that they're doing wrong. I promise that. And the bankers, a lot of times, they're paying their money, like he said. But as it went in the fair way after he got with the state, they showed it and come back, and we got $400,000. In no way we say that they have not paid it. We know they're paying. They're paying their due taxes like everybody's going to pay taxes. But are they sending it in the right way at the state or whatnot? That's what the whole thing. And like I said, this resolution, you just well throw the trash can. All that is poured toward the mayor, and then do the diligence, the check, because there was $400,000 we would have not have got if Rocky hadn't done what he done. I went, and I think the mayor would say that in the most. Then the mayor got involved, did he?
Just like I said, the wording's off. I mean,
but if you read the entire, it's not penalizing. No, it's just saying think about it. It's telling the mayor and the other one to look at it and investigate it. That's all it says. So it's not nothing, a warrant or such saying you will do this from now on. And I see what the bankers when they look at it. But if they knew the history of what Rocky had actually done, I'm very pleased when he brought $400,000 in. Like I said, it bought the cars, and stuff that we would not. I don't believe we'd ever got. And the mayor may speak on that.
Well, and just keep in mind, the spirit of the resolution is about if we're making money off of excise taxes and it's based on deposits, and we put our money into a local bank, we make money off of that. So just think if we Bank of New York, and all the deposits were routed through New York City, we didn't get a dime. You see, his resolution is saying that if you invest in Benton County Bank, where it's reported, you're going to make money off of it. And I'm not saying that's an honest debate. We can all debate whether it's based off deposits, income, whatever. But it's just the resolution, we know it's created confusion. It's created probably the wrong signals. You can see Mr. Killen made great points. They're a small business. They employ a lot of people in this community. And how are they taking it? Obviously, I would take it somewhat offensive if I had a good business and hey, Benton County doesn't want to do business with me. So again, the resolution just, it needs to be debated. It can be further discussed, but the way it is presented to me is very confusing and counterproductive.
Okay. Mr. Preston, since you missed your turn.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll make it quick. I apologize to everybody for not being able to write a perfect resolution. The purpose of this resolution has been accomplished. Pass, win, draw, lose. The trustee, Sherry, she's well aware of this subject. The mayor's well aware of it. Me and Ward will gladly withdraw this resolution since we've had this conversation. So whatever will satisfy everybody, Chairman, Norman, Ward, and me, we're all for pulling this resolution since we've had this conversation. Thank y'all. I'll yield the floor.
Motion stands.
Okay, we still have the motion, and it stands to remove this resolution from the agenda, and we have a second. So we need a roll call vote, please.
Yeah. So you can vote on your tablets.
No, mine just says request to speak.
We're having a roll call to,
In just a minute, you'll be able to vote on your tablet to remove that from the agenda.
Yes, to remove it, no, but not
remove
remove
it
it.
from, okay.
Now, do it.
Okay.
Okay, you still have the roll call.
John Patton, Ward Plant,
For approval of agenda.
This is the motion to remove, I can't show it to you on the screen.
It says approval agenda remote.
It's removing the First Amendment of what your motion is.
His motion was to remove the resolution number 1 from the agenda. You vote yes if you want to remove it, you vote no if you don't want to remove it. Mike, did you get the vote? Did it come up? Okay.
Okay. So we have
Leah Dye, Norman Frazier, Gary Fur, Dwayne Fowler. Oh, I gotta vote for Gary.
let's hear one.
Gary? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Sonny Hall, Michelle Hill, Mike Nunnery, Roseanne Ward, Ronnie Hopper, and Mary Powers.
Okay, so anybody want to change it?
Does anybody want to change their vote? Fourteen yes, 1 no, 3 absent.
Okay, we voted to remove the resolution from the agenda. Now what we need to do is we need approval of the agenda without the resolution number 1 on there. So we're voting to approve the agenda without resolution number 1. Do I have a motion?
Hold on. So you guys.
I'm sorry. I'm moving too fast for you.
Okay. Motion, second, any discussion? Karen?
Okay, yes, we have a motion by Kenneth Miller and a second by Dana Ferguson to approve the agenda with the removal of resolution number 1. So everybody can vote now.
Don Patton, yes. Ward Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Leah Dye, yes. Norman Frazier, yes. Gary Fur.
Yes.
Gary Fur, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? 15 yes, 3 absent, motion passed.
Okay, the agenda has been approved, so we're going to move on to number 6 on the agenda is the citizens forum. Mr. Killen was first on there, but Mr. Killen, do you choose to speak anymore? Okay, thank you. So
Thank you for speaking to me.
Okay. So on our agenda, we have David Blackwood with the West Tennessee River Basin Authority. Mr. Blackwood, would you come up, please?
You can reference resolution number 5 is what we read.
Hey, how's everybody this evening? Y'all are
intimidating board. We had a 30-minute discussion on what we're going to discuss. That's pretty good. Hey, I'm David Blackwood. I'm the director of the West Tennessee River Basin Authority. And as residents of Benton County, y'all are members of the River Basin Authority. And I don't know if y'all are real familiar with our agency or the services we provide, but we do river and stream maintenance. We have a lot of flow control lakes. We have amphibious track hose and equipment where we get in and remove debris and blockages from rivers. We're able to help with recent tornado damage. We've helped Benton County with several projects over the years. And what I'd like to talk to you this evening about is the persistent flooding problem on Cane Creek that we have down really from where the Country Western restaurant is and then back west towards the highway department. The agency, the West Tennessee River Basin Authority, can be a sponsor for counties, for member counties, in grant processes. And there is a Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grant, it's a BRIC grant. It's through TEMA. And it helps address issues just like this, where we can go in and study and look at certain stretches of stream, analyze the flooding, and do the work that needs to be done. One of the requirements of that when we submit it is we have to have the county and the community, the city as sponsors, or as supporting. We're the main sponsor, but we have to have the county on board as agreeing that this is something that's a problem for the community and something that they sponsor. So looking at that area, we think that's a spot for a bottleneck. So I know that flooding is a nuisance. I know that flooding creates a problem there. It's also a really interesting area because it's right at the edge of the backwater from the Tennessee River. So you get a lot of different profiles and how it floods. But we're pretty sure there's a lot of things in there. There's a lot of utilities. There's a bridge crossing. So it creates a bottleneck. There's some real opportunities to improve flow down through there and improve the frequency of how much that floods. So I'm here tonight to answer any questions on that and really to talk through what that program would entail with you guys. So, Mayor, if there's anything you'd like to add on that, and thanks for having me out.
I would just say also, Buck Carter, our highway superintendent, is also in the audience. He, myself, Commissioner Frazier are all on the board representing Benton County throughout. It's a West Tennessee-based board. And if you've ever seen the River Basin Authority in action, you realize the tremendous value that they have to Benton County from beaver programs, unclogging beaver obstructions that could jeopardize our roadways, to assisting landowners when a tornado comes through. And as y'all know, last March we had a tornado come through, and it took a little while. Of course, the government doesn't move fast. They had lots of projects, but they came here and with a team and cleared multiple obstructions on homeowners' property, as well as the creeks that were affected by the tornadoes and obstructions and flooding that has been caused. This particular project was something that actually the origination of it, genesis of it, happened some time ago. And as we know, we used to have a county highway department, them off of the Natchez Trace intersection there around the old depot area. And Buck Carter has hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment that was parked at that highway department. And so this Cane Creek provides a tremendous threat to property, county property, as well as private property. And this is kind of the first phase. It goes from basically that intersection where the old highway department is, all the way around what we call the old Highway 70 area. But Cane Creek continues on all the way up near Walmart. That creek has posed a constant nemesis to businesses and flooding problems within our county for a long time. And so this is kind of a first phase. We'll see. I would like for us to embark on it because I think a definite improvement that's long over needed. We went and discussed this with the City of Camden too, because City of Camden needs to have skin in the game, so to speak. I mean, this is obviously in the City of Camden, and they have agreed to meet a half of that particular matching portion that is out there. So it's good to see that the City of Camden has partnered with us on this endeavor, and so now it's up to the county to just simply confirm that and move forward, hopefully, with this beneficial resolution.
And if I could piggyback on that a little bit, about 10 years ago, we did complete a phase down by the water treatment plant of an emergency overflow and help flow there. So we are working our way up the hill with projects to open up Cane Creek and alleviate that flooding. So this is the next step in that.
You said the next step. How many steps is there? Of course, I had an opportunity to speak with the city officials. Money-wise, I was looking at that. They were telling me when I talked to some of the city officials, this is a 3-step process. That we'll do one stage of it now, we'll do another stage later, and another stage later. Is that what?
I don't know what.
Well, so I know we're talking about full product, but is that right, Brett?
What we were talking about was, this is one phase, you know, from Highway 70 all the way around over to where the highway department formerly was. So that's one phase. Whether we choose to continue this, I mean, I imagine this is a grant that's continuous, but of course we don't want to get ahead of the game. We'd like to at least complete one, then we can embark on another, and then another. But I would like, it's just like putting infrastructure in the community. I would like, when this is done, for us to give that consideration for the next phase and the next phase, because this Cane Creek can impact our business community all the way up to where probably the old catfish place used to be, you know, probably up to Norwood subdivision. So this is something that I don't want us to lose sight of, but this is the first initial phase of it.
Yeah, and as you know, I know we do have problems up there. I know we've pulled blockages out around the old catfish restaurant several times. There's things that need to be upsized till you get your outlet where it'll accept new flows. It'll take that new capacity. Then, you know, really got to start the bottom, working way at the top.
And if you improve, like let's just say up towards higher up in the business community, all that's going to do is rush the flow down to the lower neck. You kind of want to start from the low part up, you know, so that it all meets all the flow and water holding and watershed strategies.
Commissioner Plant,
yes,
asked to speak.
Provided we pass this resolution, what time frame are we looking when y'all would actually, you think, just an estimate, hold on, this year?
Yeah, it would start. It would start this year. It's a 3-year window on completing that phase. You know, there's utilities and bridges involved, so there's hydraulic design, timeline stuff. But the grant submits January 31st.
Right.
And they make a decision pretty quickly because it'll be in the state of Tennessee TEMA's hands. So
thank you.
Start this year.
Greatly needed.
Mr. Patton?
Is this, it says Cane Creek, is that the same thing as Caney Creek? Is that a different creek?
Which creek?
Caney.
Cane Creek. I mean, this is Cane Creek. Which one did you say?
Caney Creek comes by my property in the back. Is this the same one?
I'd say this is the Camden's version of Cane Creek, then, not the Holiday part. But it flows out from Cypress Creek, is where the flow of the creek goes into.
Did they ever clean that out, Caney Creek?
When you say which one, yours or ours? The one in Camden.
The one that goes behind the country west.
Yeah.
You have down the paragraphs.
And Buck, I don't know if you want to say anything. I know you've worked with West Tennessee River Basin Authority quite a bit. So.
I've been working with them now for going on 14 years, and I've been on that board that long, and these people do amazing work. And not only that, they have a local entity here in the county that does a lot of work for them. Douglas Excavating does a lot. He's got amphibious track holes. They employ him to do a lot of the work here in our county. They maintain Sandy River, Birdsong, lots of creeks, Harmon's Creek, lots of creeks. And I have approached them in 2 different times about some problems that we've had. They came in, done the work. One's down behind where Appalachians used to be, that used to stay underwater all the time down there. Since they've done that, I haven't seen any water down there unless it comes a 6-inch rain, and it's gone. They done out on Reynoldsburg Road where Ebenezer comes into it. There used to be a real problem there. People would come off that hill and go off in the creek. They moved the creek over, totally moved it, and we've had no more problems there. But they're wonderful to work with. They do our beaver control. We've got 7 sites here in the county. If it wasn't for them, we'd stay flooded half the time. We can't keep them tore out. But they've got a guy that comes around. He's here at least once a month. And if you have a problem, you give him a call. He's here the next day. I mean, they're great to work with. And I can see what they're trying to do. We worked on this about 10 years ago. David remembers it, and David Saggers was there at that time. And by starting where they're starting at, whenever we keep getting one phase done, we may not need another phase. Who knows? It may alleviate most of the problem. But I think it's very worthwhile.
Sunny Hall, you recognized?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Buck, what about that creek up on Shiloh Church Road runs down through? Is that little Birdsong Creek?
It's got a name. They call it the Birdsong, but
it floods all that down through there.
Yeah, that's one that's on my radar, but you know.
And I'll throw the caveat statement in here that if y'all have creeks that have debris and flooding, report them to us. We'll put them on our list.
That's one I've got on the
We'll get out and do maintenance. So. And to the gentleman asking about Caney Creek, I do believe we've been through there and through Birdsong, but if you believe there's something we didn't get or didn't work right, you let me know.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Lockwood? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Donna Barrett, you're recognized.
Good evening, everybody. It is a pleasure to once again be here, and I hope I can answer some questions that are going to come before you today with some resolutions that are on the agenda. I will stay around and be available for questions when the resolutions come up. I also will stay around after the meeting if there's things you want to discuss. In addition, I will be here most of the day tomorrow. I think I leave about 3:30 or 4 o'clock, so I have some available time if there's anything commissioners want to discuss, get more information, or bring to myself or the mayor's office while I'm here during that time period. There's a couple of things in your packet I wanted to point out. First of all, you have further in there a copy of the recoveries to date that we've worked on. This was as of November 2020, and probably the biggest thing on there as an update is the new revenue stream coming in from the Nathan Bedford Forest Park. And it looks like even with all of the issues with COVID, we're still on track for that to be at least a $16,000 yearly recurring revenue stream for the county. As we come out from under some of the restrictions and people start traveling more, I do expect that to go up. But we are meeting the conservative estimate that was provided. We estimated $15,000, and right now it looks like it's coming about $16,000 a year for that. You also have 2 resolutions that you're going to be asked to vote on tonight. Both of these in some form have been brought to you before. One of them, item number 17, which is resolution ending in 06, is a resolution requesting the state treasurer pay the unclaimed fund balances remitted for prior years. We did this a year and a half, 2 years ago. It is any outstanding check that any of your departments have, they can hold them for a year waiting for them to clear your bank. After that, the state requires you to send it to the state, and the state will try to find that individual that the money is owed to. The state gets to collect the interest off that for that year. You don't. After a year, when they've been unsuccessful, you can ask for that back. Now, when we ask for that back, think a year and a half, 2 years ago, there was $116,000 that came back to the county. You can't spend that money. It has to set aside because it is still due and payable to whoever the check is made payable to. But you now can put that in interest-bearing account and you earn that interest. I seriously doubt that we're looking at another $116,000, but it is something you need to be doing routinely every year, and that's what this resolution is for. It's what we've done before. I'll work with Ashley tomorrow to get the appropriate forms up. This comes in once a year, so we'll be looking at distribution of this sometime mid-June to July of this year when they do the disbursements from those for the requests that come in. So that's what that one is about. Number 18, item agenda 18, resolution number 07. If you will recall, the last time I was here, we added an audibility to your the pulpwood tax. If your private act is there, you collect the tax. There just wasn't an ability to have anybody audit that. The state said they really didn't have the authority. You really didn't have the authority, but you typically do in private acts like this. You have it in the hotel motel tax, which is a local tax. We added it to the pulpwood last time. This one, we're adding to the mineral severance. So you have that ability to go in and audit here locally for that situation. And we will work, that will be part of what I'll be working on with Mayor's office is to once this passes, what are the steps to develop that audibility function here within the county. And we'll get assistance from the state and any other department that we can. This is not going to happen immediately. We're going to have to develop the system and figure out what other places are doing. But this is a way to keep folks from passing the buck. It's your responsibility, you know, it's your responsibility. We're putting it where it belongs as all the other local taxes are in the private acts. So that's what that one does. Now, I guess I'll be the next one to address the elephant in the room. You removed item number 12 off the agenda, which was resolution number 1, with the bank excise tax. I'm not here to debate the merits of that and any of the issues that Commissioner Pressenbach brought up. What I want to talk about is exactly what I'm doing and helping with this. As you all will recall, when I came in to work with the county, one of the things I talked about was things have gotten so convoluted with the state coming in and taking over responsibilities, and there's 95 counties, and you have online reporting, and everybody's busy doing their day-to-day jobs, putting out those fires without doing the research that's necessary. Such as the sales tax that we were able to collect back from where it was being wrongly distributed. That took us about 9 months to identify. So these processes aren't quick. They do take some time. This excise tax is one of those. I'm working directly with the state on this issue. It is a little more complicated than simply who's paying and who's not paying. I will tell you, without a doubt, every bank is paying their excise tax. What I will tell you is you have state banks, you have federal banks, you have out-of-state banks, you have local banks, all reporting into the state and various states with varying degrees of responsibility and forms and where it goes to and where it doesn't go to. We identified this issue last year. As you know, COVID hit. The state put a hiring freeze on so revenue could hire no more new employees. Anybody that left. They didn't fill those positions. People are working from home, from their kitchens, from their closets, wherever they're able to find a place. So things have slowed down tremendously in being able to track and follow through with getting these things resolved. I'm saying that because, again, the 9 months that it took to resolve the sales tax, we're looking at a little longer time period to resolve this bank excise fee. Again, your banks are paying. It's a question of whether or not, again, the distribution forms or whatever is required from another state, from the state, from certain banks or other entities, is getting handled to the right person. Is the person that they were supposed to give it to no longer employed and those things fell off the table or through the cracks? Those are the things we're working on. Actually, when I finish this meeting tonight, I have a phone call in waiting with revenue to make sure we have all the questions. We're going back over again the processes, the solution we think we have in place, and then from there we will go and talk further with the state delegation if anything's needed. I have been in contact with the Bankers Association. This is just a matter of something's not being handled properly somewhere along the way, but all your banks are properly paying. So if you will give me a little more time, this is something we're trying to address, And as soon as we get it addressed, I'm sure the mayor will gladly announce to everybody that we've resolved it. We hope whatever solutions we put in place stay, and that's our goal, is when we find the resolution for this, it is something that won't fall through the cracks if somebody leaves a position or leaves one entity to go to another. We want this solution to be one and done, fixed, and we won't have to address this issue again. So I just wanted to update you, let you know we are working on this. The mayor and I have some conference calls tomorrow addressing this as well. So progress is being made. COVID and dealing with the state and with the General Assembly shortages that we had last year, the only thing they were addressing were budgetary issues for the state only. We barely got some legislation through last year, actually for the state park. That actually passed the last day, the last 3 hours of the session. They weren't taking up any local issues. This is considered a local issue, so we're putting it back on the front burner this time. And I do hope that I'll have you a solution to this within a month, and we won't even have to be addressing this again. I do want to thank the bankers that did show up, but again, I want to assure them and everybody, the money's being paid. We just have to get it properly allocated where it needs to go, and the system in place that will be consistent so this doesn't happen again. That said, again, I will be here for the remainder of this meeting and tomorrow. If you'd like any time allocated to talk with me or the mayor, together we'll be here. If you'll just contact his office or see me tonight, we'll schedule in some time to meet tomorrow. And with that, I'll stand for questions from anybody.
So what it boils down to is it's not our banks, it's the state's distribution of it. It's about what it boils down to as far as just getting it out. So.
Yes, and when I say it's a distribution, it's more of everybody's trusting everybody they've done the right thing, and nobody's following up because they don't think there's a reason to have to follow up. Again, when I came on board, that was what I promised I would do. I would be that person that did the follow through, because it's just not part of a routine basis. Day in and day out, fires are coming on and things have to be done. When you put a system in place, you expect it to work. Something's falling through here, especially going online. That really makes things a lot more difficult as well, because it's never seen by anybody. The paperwork, the numbers are just there. So, yes, short thing, it's a distribution issue that we're going to resolve, but if there's any assistance we need from the banks, we'll let them know. If they're sending it to the wrong place or it's sitting on somebody's desk, somewhere there's a break in the system, and we're going to fix that. Again, to the best of my knowledge, it's not on this end when it comes to banks. Trust me, they wouldn't be able to have their license if they weren't paying.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, please. When you talk about collecting the tax, that the desires of the county clerk or an authorized tax collector, I mean, do you really foresee the cost that the county would have to pay an authorized tax collector to go out to a few businesses to try to see if they owe any more money? Is that going to play out? Is it going to cost us more to hire an authorized tax collector versus what little or a few dollars they might find?
And for the minerals?
It doesn't have to be, that wording doesn't have to mean a third-party outside person. It could be you have your in-house counsel be that authorized person. This is allowing the trustee to assign it to somebody else versus making it just the trustee that takes care of that.
I would also add that, we know that this started with just some general inquiry from Commissioner Crescent. Of course, it's escalated. It's uncovered some weaknesses in the system. There's probably a lot of other counties out there being impacted. Same as Benton County is probably nothing new to this process. I mean, if this process is deemed favorable in the eyes of the legislature, then this is something that could have a very beneficial impact statewide. I would also say that, as Ms. Barrett said, that this has to go through the proper processes, the state legislature. So we can start something like, let's say, March or April, and we missed a deadline to get our filings in, and it may have to wait around to that next session of the legislature. So that's why a lot of times these things don't move fast. We have to wait for the proper timing to put them in. And as far as putting teeth in it, that's the Tennessee Department of Revenue's purview to do that. I think what you propose is getting something in play that they can work with. They'll write up all the fine print and everything that they would require for reporting. But you got to start somewhere, and this is part of the process of getting it up and ensuring that we get accurate returns back to our county.
And again, we are having all the players at the table. Your delegation will be there, the Bankers Association, Revenue, anybody that touches this is going to be there to be able to say, no, we're doing this properly, what are you not doing properly? So all the players are going to be there. When we come up with a solution again, the goal is for everyone to be in agreement that this is the process, this is where the crack was, and we're going to fix that crack.
Nope.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm on the resolution number 7. I'm looking down here, it says the clerk will authorize tax collectors to have the right to inspect such records in all reasonable time. Are we talking about the office that Wanda Creslingham is that the person that we're talking about to do all this?
This is already in your private act for the clerk.
The clerk to do that job?
Yeah, that's already assigned. This private act falls under her office. We're just adding the audibility, and again, that's why we've added the authorized tax collector. That's the difference here as well. So that if she chooses...
is that not a lot of responsibility for one office with everything else you've got going on, did you think? Or are we going to have to end up hiring someone else on this mineral thing where it's feasible for us to make money off of it? I know Brett don't like here making money, but it's like you still got to pay people. And if you're doing something, is it worth it? Is what I'm looking at. Can she handle the job? I mean, has she got enough manpower in there to take on that responsibility to collect this mineral thing? Now, I know we're flopping backwards and forward between the excise tax and this, but on the mineral thing that we talked last about there, does she have enough manpower in that office to do all these inspections and pulling back 3 years and things of that nature, do you think?
When it relates to the collection of data, the records, the entities are supposed to have available upon request.
I just worry that we start something there that we're going to have to hire some more people. It's going to cost us some more money. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Is it feasible?
And again, this is one of those situations where the state says it's the locals' responsibilities. The locals say we don't know how to do it, but we don't have the authority. The state says you do, so okay, we're going to put the authority in here because the state's already not doing it.
You're here to tell us, teach us how to do it, and tell us if
it's feasible, do it. But let's go ahead and get this audibility in here by putting the authorized tax collector. If she decides she can't handle it, and we determine that, oh well, the state's finally decided they're going to start that, then she goes, fine, we've got the audibility, we're giving that authority over to the state to do. But right now, the state has no authority or is not interested or doesn't have the manpower or whatever the reason is. It's not being audited.
Yeah, like I said, I've had at least one small business for the last 20 years. I used to deal with her office and one prior report, put my taxes in, of course, everything, your business license, it's all handled by the state. I'm sure this is something that's in the process of going to change over to the state. So I just wondered how that, if it was feasible and if she had enough personnel to use the office. But since you're the one hired to look into that, we'll see if it's feasible for her to do that in her office.
I can promise you, my goal is to make things as seamless and easy as possible with collections and reviews. You don't want something that's going to drag on and on and on. I come in for the ones that are long and drawn out. We want the offices to be, okay, we've got it here, check this off, it's done. Right now, all they're getting is, here's my report, one-page report, paid, nothing's being checked. Nothing says it has to be every one of them checked. That system will be developed with input from that office and anything else we get, just like what we're doing with the excise tax. But you need to have that audibility in there because right now it's not in there. You have it in your hotel motel. We passed it for the pulpwood. And the state is saying we don't do it. Whether or not they can, won't, don't have the manpower, I don't know. This is a good backup to make sure all else fails, you've got it here because this is a revenue stream for you. And it's a local, it's not a state.
Right.
I don't think we have any questions, but the mayor would like to say something.
I'll just add that we have probably done more auditing in the last 2 years than we've done in the history of the county. I mean, this is part of the process of checks and balances, and you know, Ms. Barrett has done a tremendous job from an administrative side. But every department head, elected official, should be responsible for auditing whatever comes to their office. I mean, they have some system in place, but as you've mentioned, a lot of times they're overwhelmed. They don't have it. So that's where that bona fide tax representative comes in, you know, the tax collecting representative. You know, they may say, hey, we can't do it internally. Maybe they'll hire somebody to do it. But at the end of the day, ask yourself, you say, what's it going to cost? What's it going to cost by not doing it? You know, how much taxes are going unchecked, unpaid, unaccounted for? You also have to ask that question. And we asked that question a couple of years ago. And so far, it has, you know, brought us great reward in exposing the weak points in our processes, in our systems. And to me, it's something that every department needs to really be diligent on and have a lot of buy-in. And if they can't handle it themselves, then we turn it over to someone who has that particular type of expertise. But again, what's it costing us by not doing it? Sometimes we have to ask ourselves those questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Barrett. We'll move on to number 7 on the agenda, the Commissioner's Forum. Okay, I recognize Dwayne Fowler.
Well, I hate to bring up another elephant in the room, but as a commissioner, it's my duty to do what the 4th District and people ask me to do. They've asked me to address the situation with congratulations, Brett, on the marriage, but they've asked me to address how does that work? Can we as commissioners rent the courthouse to have weddings and things of that nature?
Well, this is a public building, and I gave authority for it. So I asked myself, and I said yes. But if anybody, and there was no cleaning fee. But because I'm a diligent cleaner, and we left it in better shape than we found it. But I would say that this is a public building.
Just asking you like I've been asked to ask.
And I would say that if people want to do this, by all means, I would consider it.
People want to use the courtroom, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the courtroom is probably a different accoutrement of I'd say open access. We always have meetings in here, public meetings, if someone wanted to reserve it. But it's all within reason. You know what I mean? Does someone want to?
Well, I'm green to it, and I'm going to ask about it. And I know how, you know as well as I do, as we work the armories, state armories, we have a monitor, we have a clean fee, and we have things of that nature.
And that's
I know this wasn't a public forum that you had. This was a private situation. And I'm just asking you what they asked me. And that's what I've been elected to do, is to ask the tough questions.
You know, and again, it's a fair question. And again, I would encourage this. Part of it was a trial run to see if it could be done and could work. I felt like it actually was a good forum and setup. I looked at it, maybe if we have a dignitary in here sometime, and we want to have a function down there where it's open seating, I thought it set up absolutely perfect for it.
Well, so, like I said, you asked yourself, you said yes for a private party, and that's the way it went, correct? Okay, well, that answers what I want to know.
Commissioner Preston, you're next.
Chairman, I'll make it quick. MagPro, 245 Foundry Lane, Camden. Currently, 75 employees, starting pay, no experience, $16 an hour. With experience, $18 to $20 an hour. After 1 year of working there, $18 to $24 an hour. Supervisors, $25 to $35 an hour. MagPro is a producer of magnesium products. This material is sold to a number of industries, including construction, automotive, and aerospace. Magnesium metal is increasingly being used by manufacturers, including military aircraft components, structural bodies in airplanes, and missiles. Mixed with aluminum, magnesium increases the strength and increases the hardening ability. Major market for magnesium alloys are influenced by the ongoing efforts to reduce pollution levels, such as reducing the weight of automobiles. Less weight, better mileage, less emissions, less pollution. Reported August 2nd, 2020, Source Research and Markets. Rising numbers of automobiles and aerospace applications are driving the market growth of metal magnesium. Also, MagPro generates magnesium byproducts in their operation. The most significant of those, magnesium hydroxide, which is used in a number of industries, including water purification and agriculture. In the next 12 months, MagPro will be making 2 new additions to its operations. The first, an expansion of its alloy casting line. When completed, an increase of 8 to 12 employees, and this is because of 2 new customers. The second addition will be that of a drying facility. This will allow MagPro to remove moisture from the magnesium hydroxide byproduct. This drying makes it economical to be shipped greater distances because the drying makes it lighter in weight, allowing this product to be shipped and sold and not disposed of in the landfill. The drying will not only reduce the waste, in addition, create 12 to 16 jobs to be completed by the 3rd quarter of this year. This is a product being spoken of. This product, the magnesium hydroxide, is used in water purification where it is known to be superior to any other product in treating wastewater. For agriculture, mainly fertilizer and the neutralizing acid in soil. I'm almost done, Chairman. The next major improvement, 50 to 75 additional employees. The development of a primary production process. This will enable MagPro to process magnesium-contained materials to extract a pure magnesium metal. Industrial scrubbers. Industrial scrubbers are pollution filtration systems that utilize solids or water to remove gas pollutants and odors from the exhaust streams, and these have been recently installed at the MagPro site. Myself, what I like about this the best, I've been a field construction boilermaker all my life. I've worked all over the country. I've worked here close. I've worked across the river, and I've seen them plants bring in companies from Texas, bring in companies from Louisiana, and bring their own manpower in, and not include the local manpower or women. I appreciate MagPro using Arnold's, using Max Steel, using Palmer's. They've also used them not just on the scrubbers, but they use them on outage work, and they use them on all the additional projects that's going on out there. MagPro has installed 4 acres of solar panels. You can see them from the highway bypass to help their power needs during daylight hours. MagPro has experienced 2 fires that have provided significant information, and with measures taken will greatly reduce the chance of a fire happening again. There's only a handful of magnesium projects in the pipeline outside of China.
Mr. Preston, you have 1 minute left, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I encourage the community to support MagPro, and they're going forward. Their success might possibly catch the attention of other good paying industries. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commission. I yield the floor.
Okay, next to speak is Mary Powers. Ms. Powers, you're recognized. Ms. Powers, you're recognized. Do you hear us?
Mary Powers? She's on Zoom, but she's got her own microphone muted. I've unmuted her. She has to unmute herself as well.
Just tell her. If you tell her you can hear you.
She should be able to
Can you unmute yourself?
You can hear us.
That's the one. That's what the little one has
Okay, we're going to move on because this is taking quite a bit of time. Next to speak is Sonny Hall.
I've got a question for Rocky. You know, I've got nothing against MagPro, but if they can do all that, why can't they control the pollution over there?
Rocky, did you hear the question from Sunny Hall?
It sounded like Ward asked me about why they're not controlling the pollution. If you listen to what I said, I just described it, but because our scrubbers in there just recently, and they're fixing to do other upgrades on their pollution control.
Well, I know what you said, but I know what they're doing.
Okay.
They're not about to scrub shit, have they, Rocky?
No,
You can't even see Camden Chevrolet down there or something on it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The Chevrolet place, that stuff they let out, you can't even see the cars down there sometimes.
Maybe you should give a talk about it sometime.
Well, I try talking now, ain't it?
Okay.
And they smell, and it's hard to breathe.
It is. You smell it today over at our shop.
Okay, we're going to move on to number 8 on the agenda, which is the county mayor or our attorney, finance advisor, or inviting a guest speaker, which I don't think we have a guest speaker. So, yeah, we've already spoken most of it.
I'll just say quickly to MagPro, you know, I have received multiple complaints on them. I mean, you know, it's no secret. We know that our public is frustrated with the fires that's been out there, the release of, I don't want to say it's pollution, because I've called TDEC, and they have actually gone out and measured several times on their releases, and it's not violating anything, at least within their gauges or measurements, and so they don't have anything to fine them on. They don't have anything to really put forward that I guess you could say defines their releases as pollution. But TDEC has been here, boots on the ground, multiple times, because I've called them in and just to ensure that MagPro isn't releasing toxins. But we know that publicly it is a huge nuisance. I mean, plain and simple, if you're driving through that fog, you know, down the highway, it is a tremendous nuisance. The odd thing about this is that the county does not have codes. We don't have anything that we can put out there for them to be compliant to. And then secondly, the city of Camden says, well, they're not actually in the city limits. They're actually they're over the edge of the city limits, and they don't fall under any city ordinances. But as far as toxins, you know, we can, his name is Mr. Rudy Collins. He is our West Tennessee representative. He comes here often. He's been on this multiple times, and they just haven't found anything that they could declare as a toxin or, you know, a pollutant of sorts. I do know that I've talked to MagPro a couple of times. Supposedly they were going to extend their stack up so that the stack would release up at a higher elevation and go over the road. Obviously, we're probably still not there. I mean, you know, they probably still have work to do. But, you know, we've all talked about some problems that we have, not just with MagPro, but throughout the community. I don't think that we've got any teeth that we can put on from the county side unless we have some type of county code to enforce. Just something to keep in mind, that if we want to address something with teeth when it comes to MagPro, that it's going to take some further legislative action from the body, you know, deliberation, and we'll just see where it goes. But MagPro, I've called the state several times to make sure that they're compliant. So far they are. Now, I want to get back to the marriage ceremony. I performed multiple marriages here in this courthouse. Okay? It is a public event. It is a public record. Okay? Many of those ceremonies are after business hours. So if you would deem me as being guilty of a private event, anyone could have walked in if they wanted to. Of course, marriages are usually invites only, but I have conducted multiple events up here on weekends, at night. Whenever the person wants to marry, I've been up here marrying them. So that's a public event, and I would just check your gauge of what you would consider something that we should or should not do. But if it comes to doing a public event in this courthouse, by all means, I would consider that.
A public event is a public event. A private event is a private event. That was always asked.
Well, even a private to some degree. It depends on what type of event it is.
You answered it. You asked yourself.
Okay, Mr. Fowler, we need to move on. Okay? What's your next subject?
I will say quickly, I've been asked about the hiring of our airport employee. Right now, we have not hired an airport employee. We have an employee on a grant that we consider our floater. We know we've got, I don't know if y'all been abreast of what's happening out at the airport, but pretty much we have, I'm going to say, the current manager of the airport will no longer be returning to the airport in that capacity. And thankfully, we had this floater position in place, paid through via a grant. And so that particular grant, thank goodness, we had it in place, and the employee that we had on that grant is now working at the airport, pretty much as an interim director, interim manager. When that grant runs out, we will advertise for that airport manager position. So that will be a public process, as we always do when we have a full-time position come available. But the only alternative in not putting someone at the airport now, we would have to close the airport for about 2 months. You know, that's not a process you want to rush, and it takes a lot of training up to learn that particular type of position, but the airport is critical. We need to keep it going. We need to keep the airport open and running, and the airport board has been very proactive in this situation over the last 2 weeks, and so it's if you've got any questions or whatever, you can either ask an airport board member. Commissioner Miller is on the airport board. They meet the second Tuesday of every month. But as far as I know, someone has asked me about, did we hire for that position? We have not hired for that position. We have placed pretty much a floater position in an interim time frame.
I hate to raise my hand, but the battery's dead.
Could I ask a question, Mayor? At what time do you think you will be taking applications? How long will that be?
Probably, I mean, we'll have to, there's a lot of duties, and we're probably a man short out there, to be honest with you. We've placed all those responsibilities on one person's shoulders, and we see that when this one person goes down, how vulnerable we are. But that's a different debate. The budget committee can take that up. But the grant runs out in mid-March, and we want to optimize the grant as long as we can. So more than likely, we'll advertise in mid-February. We'll probably take applications through the first week of March, do the vetting process, and probably try to have them full-time boots on the ground by March 15th.
Okay. Any other questions about the airport? Okay, let's move on then.
This is Mary Powers is back online. If you want to entertain reform or you want to proceed on.
Well, she had asked to speak, and she didn't come through, so I will recognize her.
Now that's to her.
Okay, Ms. Powers, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I can hear you and the mayor and Rocky just fine, but I cannot hear I can't tell what anyone else is saying. I didn't know if I was the only one having that problem.
No, I think Gary Furr's having the same problem. He's on the phone line too, so I apologize. I'm sorry, I don't know how we can fix it, but...
May I say something? Why don't each one, when we speak, let's walk to a microphone where they'll hear us.
Can you hear us?
Speaker?
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe we can, if you want to speak, maybe whoever's speaking needs to speak right into a microphone. We can try that and see if it helps.
Okay, well, we're over that part.
I'm sure they would help a lot.
All right, well, we'll see what we can do, Ms. Powers. I apologize. I'm sorry that you can't hear. Okay, we're going to go on to the approval of the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Not up here yet.
Ferguson, and it was seconded by Commissioner Plant. Roll call, please.
Don Patton, yes. Ward Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Leah Dyke, yes. Norman Frazier, yes. Gary Fur. Yes. Gary Fur, yes. Dwayne Fowler.
Yes.
Sonny. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Rochelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes.
Quick question. How did you get that second in the motion? Did it come up on here?
Put it on your tablet.
I didn't see it come up on one.
Someone grabbed it before you could get to it.
They pushed their tablet before you did, Mr. Oliver. You gotta be quicker.
Okay.
You won't make the motion.
You sleeping for talking.
Anybody want to change your vote? 15 yes and 3 yes.
Okay, next is the report of the public utilities. We need a motion and a second. The motion was by Dana Ferguson, and it was seconded by Kalia Dye.
She's too quick.
Y'all gonna have to be fast to beat Dana. Okay, I recognize Miss Rochelle Hill.
Yes, after this, can we have a recess, please?
Yes, we'll take a break.
I like that.
Okay, any questions about this public utilities? If not, we'll go ahead and vote.
Don Patton, yes. Ward Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Leah Dye, yes. Norman Frazier, yes. Gary Fur. Gary Fur, yes. Dwayne Fowler.
Yes.
Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change your vote?
Okay, motion carries. We're going to take a 10-minute recess.
Is it hard to operate on that? It's just, we don't know what we're doing. It's brand new and having to think to do that. We've only used it.
They've only went over it once and it wasn't doing the next specific thing, something easy. When on the easy parts, what they don't understand, they did the amendment or suspended the rules and go back. It was hard to make that in there and get that all chopped up and go back. And then show us how to go there and show them. But I wish I had a way I could sit here and practice and make up stuff.
Anywhere in the building. You're doing it dirty. Well, that's why she says yes.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know who gets it.
But that is a picture, so that's never gonna change. That is permanent. But the note that all other stuff, you're all right.
I was
looking for one that's closer to him.
Can you run it from there to there?
I'm not so long.
No, I mean, they've got another one.
Hey, I'm having fun.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Do you need my cord?
Well, we need a longer one. That's what I was saying. Yours was too short from close down.
We don't have an extension cord?
We have one, not long.
I'm sorry. No offense, we need to hurry this along. I gotta have to take this mask off to breathe. An hour and a half, and we haven't even got into the resolutions yet.
Motion, you second?
Yeah.
I third you. I fourth you.
I gotta breathe.
Motion passes.
Good.
I've got my charger, but I couldn't find a place to plug it in.
That's what we were having trouble with.
No cords?
Well, we got one strung all the way over there, so when you come in, you go.
Okay.
The world's greatest problem is getting away from the number 2 pencil. This is coming from your IT director.
What you have to do?
They started it, did you know they did? And they started on the cameras?
No, my understanding is they wouldn't be there until February. No, it's not.
I'm here to tell you, materials are hard to come by.
Yeah, that's what we're understanding.
They're rationing. They will not sell them.
No, like nitro, latex, we normally order from 165-1. They were asking one box with just the 10 pieces. I'm like, this is a jam. It's like, I'm hearing to order.
Okay, let's get back.
One box from here,
Ronnie, how you doing, brother? I'm shaking.
What is
I like to say that walk. I never said they do put it
I'll call them tomorrow.
You got to put it that technical, but you can't put it on there. They're ready. She don't see
But I wanted to get the case to trial. Yeah, case to trial.
and they actually have more supplies to do. And that man can't just look at the box.
I beat her here to get my soup.
Really? Yeah, but there's always so much going on.
It's time.
Remember, this was coming back.
I don't care.
I see a badge you got back up in Awesome. Yeah. You got me on a charger? We got a cable running halfway across the court. Oh, so I was going to ask you, can I use him? Push his. I'm raising electricity. Yeah, I got to run through mine to get a little charge.
Okay. Let's go. I will know if there's anything in the courthouse. Man, whatever that is, you guys need to get rid of it. That's sick.
What's wrong?
The hand sanitizer that is in this courthouse, even with my mask on, just about made me sick.
Is that alcohol?
No, it's not alcohol. It's something else. Okay, people, get back here.
We can hear that.
Anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you, Dana.
Don't put me by a microphone. I can do without it.
The meeting is now back in session.
We turned to the headship first or what?
Next on the agenda is the approval of the annual Benton County road list. Any discussion or questions? We need a motion.
Yes.
And Mr. Hopper made the second this time. Okay, any discussion? Okay, we don't have anyone asking to speak or discussion, so let's go roll call vote, please.
Rose.
John Patton, yes. Ward Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Talia Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Carr. Gary Carr, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion
Okay, we're moving on. Number 12 was the one that we removed from the agenda, so we're going to move on to line item 13, which is resolution number 2. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Benton County, Tennessee, assembled in regular session on this 19th day of January 2021, that any Benton County employee that is a primary caregiver for a child whose school or care facility has been closed due to COVID-19 be allowed to be at home with the child/children and continue to receive full county pay.
Budget committee did this without recommendation. There were a lot of things on it we did not like employees. The Benton County employee policy, we don't have that, so that's not right. And no one could tell us how many we have that we need to worry about.
Okay, Commissioner Hill, you're recognized.
Yeah, this is very vague. There's no time limit for how long an employee would be at home with their child receiving pay. You've got lots of people in our county who are not county employees and some that are county employees that regardless of their child's school being closed to COVID or what have you, would have to come to work because of their job classification. You got people working at McDonald's, at Walmart. You know, I am all for taking care of our employees and helping them out, but this is too vague. It really doesn't, I just don't think it would be a good resolution because there are too many people having to work. I could see giving them a few days off to make other arrangements like the rest of us would have to do. You know, I just don't think it's a good use of our tax dollars.
Okay, Commissioner Powers, can you hear me? If you do, you're recognized.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, everyone can hear you.
I agree with. I agree with the last commissioner that spoke. It's too vague. There should be documentation presented. So I think it's just poorly written, and there needs to be more detail. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. Commissioner Nunnery.
I'm green and just learning, but isn't each elected official responsible for their employee? Wouldn't that be their decision to make?
As far as I know, it is. A department head could make that call.
So who would we actually need, who is this for? Because the schools are deciding the school board, the county highway would be deciding the highway department board. Who are we talking about?
Well, I think that's what Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Powers stated, is that it's just kind of vague and it doesn't explain a lot. And it also doesn't address that each department head has the authority to allow their employee to be off for a day or two to make arrangements for child care. They have the authority to do that.
Right. So that's how I understood it when I was reading and taking my test.
Mayor wants to speak.
And just some clarification again. Forgive him for he knows not what he does sometimes. Rocky, of course, the spirit of the resolution is he's concerned about county employees and would they be allowed. We've got two issues here. We've got COVID-19, we've got child care and how it relates to the policy. Now, the budget committee has, in our last budget, approved the hiring of a contracted HR professional. So we have, from the administrative side, we have an employee handbook ready to go. We haven't presented it to y'all because we're kind of waiting on seeing that the sheriff gets a handbook ready and gets it ready. We would actually do them simultaneously, and we can discuss that when it comes up. But he's been budgeted money for the same HR professional that handled ours, and if he uses, if you want to utilize that professional, he's probably reached out to your department or something. But he wrote ours up, and of course it's all with the back and forth debate. And because we were in the middle of COVID, we put in a COVID clause. First of all, right now, most everyone under COVID is covered under the Family Medical Leave Act. We pay our employees for 14 days if they are directly impacted by COVID. This means they get it or a direct loved one gets it. But if you've got 4 or 5 people in your family, you could technically be out multiple times just due to COVID. And so what we've done, and we did this with the CARES Act, is that we want people to work from home anyway. I'd love for every position to be able to work from home if they could. We burn less electricity, less water, it's less stress. But some offices can't do that. And so ultimately, the department head has the initial say. And I say a department head can be an elected official. But they have to come to a cutoff point at a point in time. Meaning, did we budget for someone to be home without working? You know, they go past 14 days that the Family Medical Leave Act under the COVID provision allows them. And so that gets down to a department head's call and how productive is an employee. That's why we went and started equipping our courthouse employees to be able to work from home and dial in networks. And you know, the mayor's office can do most anything from home now, with the exception of printing checks. You have to be physically present for that. But we're doing a lot. Other departments are doing a lot. I got a feeling that over time, when it comes to caring for a loved one, you know, like a child care situation, a school, the schools are impacted every day. You wake up, the schools are impacted. But if an employee wanted to work from home and they had the capacity to work from home and care for their child, by all means, I would encourage the department head to support that employee doing that. But again, at the end of the day, they got to measure, they got to produce. You know, an employee just can't sit at home drawing a paycheck. There comes a time when we have to make a decision. So we've allowed 14 days under COVID. Everything after that is under a discretionary mode.
We don't have any other people that wants to speak on that, so I'll call for a roll call vote, please.
Don Patton, no. Ward Frank, yes. Dana Ferguson, no. Kenneth Miller, no. Rocky Preston, yes. Gloria Dunn, abstain. Norm Frazier, abstain. Gary Farr. Gary Farr, abstain. Wayne Feller, no. Sonny Hall, no. Rochelle Hill, no. Mike Nunnery, no. Roseanne Ward, no. Ronnie Hopper, no. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Mary did. Yeah, unless you changed here.
Mary Powers, no. Anybody wish to change their vote now? Failed majority. 2 yes, 10 no, 3 abstain. Motion fails. Resolution fails.
Okay, item number 14 on the agenda is resolution number 3. We have a motion.
Motion.
Well, yeah, motion by Dana Ferguson, she's quick, y'all, and second by Miss Mary Powers. Now we're open for discussion. You recognize Ms. Ferguson?
Okay, budget did this without recommendation.
Yes.
Resolution we were supposed to. Oh, we voted.
We just voted on 2.
Voted on one. I think you're,
Okay, so what we need to do is everybody needs to vote on 2 again, because we accidentally voted on 1 that was pulled. So this is resolution 2 about the COVID-19 and the children care. Everybody vote again on this one. So this is the vote for number 2.
this will be the vote for number 2. Thank you, Clea. Don Patton, no. Ward Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, no. Ted Miller, no. Rocky Preston, yes. Lee abstain. Norman Frazier abstain. Gary Farr. Okay. Gary Farr abstain. Dwayne Feller, no. Sonny Hall, no. Rochelle Hill, no. Mike Nunnery, no. Roseanne Ward, no. Ronnie Hopper, no. Mary Powers abstain. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Still failed.
Okay, still failed. 2 yes, 9 no, and 4 abstain.
Okay, now we're on resolution number 3.
And we are on 3 now, correct?
Do I got to speak again?
No, Diane Ferguson had already stated that the Budget Committee did not recommend this resolution. Rochelle Hill, you're up now.
I am in support of this because it was discussed and Commissioner Preston has discussed this before. If you have a company that's not paying its taxes like the other companies are paying their local taxes, and they're able to bid lower and get a state contract because they're not paying their taxes where the other companies are, what is anybody's incentive for paying their ad valorem taxes? You're rewarding someone for not paying their taxes by putting them in a position where the money they should pay taxes is used to cut overhead and outbid the ones who are paying their taxes. At least that's how it seems to me. And I'm not for making life hard for any of our small businesses, but the playing field needs to be fair.
Okay, Commissioner Preston, you recognize?
Being present at budget meeting, there was a lot of pushback, a lot of rejection of this resolution. I think it's unfortunate for Benton County to have at least 2 on the budget members that oppose stopping the bleeding of lost taxes. I asked, would you rather raise property taxes? This resolution, far from being perfectly written, asks for help. Asks to bring attention to our county's lost revenue stream, to bring the attention of this subject to men and women, should they choose, can make a change, an improvement, can write a law to encourage a vendor to pay their taxes. John Stevens, our state senator, Bruce Griffey, our state representative, let these men, let these guys decide if this resolution has merit or not. We've got 19 barge companies, 20 wireless companies and telephone, 7 railroad companies, 15 trucking companies, and 1 pipeline that pay ad valorem taxes. 2018, for Benton County, Big Sandy, and Camden, they pay $433,355. What signal do we want to send to these companies? Do we want to send them a signal? Hey, over here, Benton County, don't worry about it. You ain't got to pay your taxes. I yield the floor, Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Frazier, you recognize.
2 commissioners actually touched on where I was going, and I think they said it well. Rocky, I 100% agree they need to pay their taxes. Don't take what I'm fixing to say wrong.
Okay.
Hill, you represented it correctly. They, I don't remember exactly what you said, but I supported it. Anyway. Okay. Now, where I'm going at this. Ad valorem tax is a fee for personal property. Okay? I'm going to pick on dump truck. Okay? When you got dump trucks running around with farm tags on them, that's in lieu of paying ad valorem tax. Okay? So, if this county hires somebody with farm tags on a truck to do a project, we're opening ourselves up for a lawsuit. Okay? In my opinion. I've sat legal counsel today twice. One questioned and finding it, the other said yes, definitely. So that is my concern with us. We have had a history of using farm tag contractors in this county, for the county. I yield the floor.
The mayor would like to speak.
And I'll just say, this is one of those situations where do we have the mechanisms in place to audit, to go behind and watch these things. I know when it comes to ad valorem, I immediately think of property assessor and the county clerks. I think they file taxes through those 2 departments. Are they equipped to be able to cross all the T's and dot all the I's? It's things that we need to discuss going forward. I do believe the spirit of his intent, though, is should people who are delinquent in taxes receive state contracts. You know, now my personal opinion, if you're bona fide delinquent and have been found to be delinquent via an official manner, an official mechanism, you've gone through court and the judge has said you owe the taxes, or the state or some assessment has said you're definitely in delinquency. But there's a lot of people that are in delinquency that could be simply protesting their tax. They may have a good, valid issue to be able to say, look, I'm not late on my taxes. They're telling me I'm late, but I'm not. I paid blah, blah, blah. You know, so that's an issue where they got to work it out and then be declared delinquent. So I don't want us to rush the judgment and say, everybody, just because you're delinquent on taxes, it's like, doesn't mean that you weren't following the rules and that you weren't doing things right. It's something that requires more teeth, more detail, more discussion. I do believe the way it's worded, probably it could use some improvement on the wording. But I think the spirit, I think he had the right spirit.
We don't have anybody else asking to speak, so we'll take a roll call, please. I'm sorry, I didn't see you just pushed your button.
Explain one more time. You're asking for Mr. Stevens and Mr. Griffey. Is this just a county problem or is this a statewide problem? Is this a new law that we're trying to push, or is it just something we're pushing here for Benton County only?
The intent of the resolution is to put the issue in their hands, Bruce and
in their
John.
Hands for what? For Benton County or for a state issue?
Let them fix the problem. We've got a truck company. I disagree with what the mayor said. We've got a truck company that hadn't paid ad valorem taxes since 2008. Excuse me. They owe the county. The last count I had, $147,000.
But is it something that, like we talked about earlier with the excise tax, is it an item that the state has to do and send it back to us? Or what is the process?
There's nobody to enforce it. So maybe they'll write a law that will enforce it.
So there's nobody enforcing it. You're asking Mr. Griffey and Mr. Green, or Mr. Stevens, just to help Benton County. Is that what you're saying?
Help any county. That would be my favor, that you'd write a law that would help all 95 counties. I'm sure this isn't just happening in Benton County, but I can't tell you for certain what's happening in other counties.
You know, I'd see it. I'd hate to be, you know, you got the one side of it, the farm tag issues, and yes, I think contractors, a lot of contractors have been hired that's using run the farm tag, which is illegal, probably. But the whole situation boils down to a state problem. You say, you know, you want to do the right thing, and they say people, you said people won't go to them, they don't charge taxes, or go to Benton County. If nobody else is enforcing this and pushing the state thing, then it may create a problem the other way. I mean, you hate to run the pack, but you need to let the state address something of that nature before. I mean, I may be just looking at it all wrong, but you think you want the state to address a problem of that nature. And, you know, what's highway patrol? I'm sure if they pulled the truck over the farm tags or had a load of gravel, they better be taking it to his house or to his farm. But, you know, that's something I think, again, that the state needs to do before we really, I don't know. That's just what I
Thank you for your words. I encourage everybody to vote their conscience.
Right, Commissioner Hall, you're next.
Yeah, I've got a question. How would you determine what trucks paid the tax? He was talking about trucks with farm tags. You got just regular state tags, Tennessee tags, they don't pay it either.
Now, what Commissioner Norman talked about, I ain't got a clue. I don't know anything about this subject. I don't know how the state determines who pays excise tax. I just know that we've got 19 truck counties in Benton County that pays excise tax. 10 of them have local county addresses.
Commissioner Nunley?
My question is, we're a small country town, you know, sometimes these businesses are just on the cusp of failing, maybe go behind in a property tax or something like that. I hate to see them lose the state contract that might get them caught up because of the ad valorem that,
you know, we're going after that, but we're including all county taxes. I think it's a little vague, maybe.
What have you found out that they're behind? The state,
Sherry's office.
Sherry's office, they've got that on file that they've actually reported to you. It just ain't paid.
Our attorney, Mr. Johnson, has asked to speak.
Yeah, Commissioner Powell, this one really goes to your question. This is a Benton County issue that we have an issue with here. I'm sure it is present in other counties. We said let the state handle it. I've looked into this issue. This is one of the issues I've looked at along with severance tax. The state is not, they're Nashville, they're not here in Benton County. They're not really keeping up with this issue. The local trustee's office issues these assessments every year and sends them out to be paid. And in particular, I guess one of the companies that Rocky's talking about is someone that's not been paying it since 2008, and they're still operating the business. And so, Commissioner Hunter, is something else you thought somebody might be on the cusp. Well, in this particular situation, I mean, that's 12 years that they put us off and not paid.
That was my
They
point.
continue to operate and avoid paying these.
Right. And I agree with that totally, but I'm thinking there may need to be some restriction there.
And this is a specific tax. This is not a general tax. This is a specific tax of ad valorem tax that we're talking about. And this, I didn't know that or anything.
But that's not what
This is a specific tax. And as far as determining when someone's delinquent, the law says declare when you're delinquent because it has certain dates you have to pay them by and when they're issued and things like that. So you're declared delinquent at a certain time. And this was brought about due to the one that's been delinquent for over 12 years, still refusing to pay it.
Right, I understand.
So that's a big county issue. That's money that's being lost.
Well, you know, like Commissioner Hunter said, and maybe, I mean, there's got to be a way to do it that's, you know, I mean, I just look at the state side of it. Maybe it should be based on profitability. I mean, I don't know, something on, you know, as far as, I don't know how you would do it. I mean, like you said, if you do something to that nature, and you may end up hurting Benton County in the long run if nobody else in the state is pushing the thing, you know, if the state ain't mandated something to that nature. But I mean, I don't know. I've never dug that deep into that factor of it. I just, you know, it does sound right. Somebody delinquent for 12 years, somebody needs to pay it.
And
you know,
one of the,
especially
like I
if it's
said,
big amounts of money.
when we talk to the state, they don't have the same, I talked to the legal up there with the state, they don't have the same watchful eye over things as we do in Benton County, our own county. And they view it as if this is something that's, you know, important, you would, yes, go do that. They're just more of a, like you think of government entities, they're just more just collecting and keeping up with things. They're not out there to try to go collect, like enforce it.
Right.
To do any legal part on the county's behalf. They're more just where you send payments in the paperwork to without much checking on the numbers.
Have we cross-referenced this with anybody with our county income and our amount of population to other counties? Have we done that and seen how maybe they handle a situation like that? I mean, handle this kind of situation?
I don't know if anybody's done that or not. I mean, I'm aware there are counties that do collect this, that do this. You know, as far as where I practiced before Shelby County, those are bigger cities and there's a lot more money involved. But if you do it on a scale, if I don't know what the numbers are like you just said, if you look it up, if they collected 300-something thousand on an entire year from all these companies, and we've got one company that owes 147,000, that's almost half the amount. That's one company, and that tells us that we need on a local level to be looking at how to deal with that situation because Nashville's not going to do it for us. But if we, in asking the state senator and state representative to do that, that may give us some more tools to handle our own business whenever we know those kind of things. I don't know what kind of law they can create, but there's plenty of laws out there, but I think if there's a way that they can enable us to handle this more on our own, we're always going to know because Sherry's office sends these reports out, sends these notices out, and she knows on a yearly basis who's not paid. And those are for the legislative body here to address, not necessarily Nashville. and the way the statutes are read today, on this issue, really, we have to look at that and collect it ourselves.
I feel like it's still working on.
You're ready now?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say, to make an amendment to the resolution, let's turn it over to our attorney, let him rewrite it if what's needed. The point of this resolution is to get it on the radar that it's not just dead talk. And he knows the word to communicate, and let him work with that to try to, I know this debt has been old for, like I said, 12 years. And it's just not the way everybody like it's written. Let's let him rewrite it and let him submit it through to possibly to get a ruling on this. We know it's a fact that it's old, but there's no means of collecting it. So I'd like to make that motion to amend what we're done, to keep it live, and let our attorney write it the way he feels fit for it.
Okay, first of all, we can't amend it without it being rewritten tonight. Amending it means we're going to rewrite it
He
tonight.
probably do that. Asked it to just to do it.
What I think we need to do would be if you or Mr. Preston would agree to withdraw it and say that we, or table it so that we can have our attorney rewrite it and bring it back.
I'll leave that to Mr. Rock.
Somebody should ask Mr. Johnson if he wants to do it first, I think.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, would you do that for the
I'm always
commission?
in favor of commissioners writing their own resolution if they want to, but if they need some assistance, I'm not doing that, assisting in terminology and things like that. I don't want to write a resolution myself for this body to pass. That's not what my role function, but if somebody needs some help drafting, I can assist with that.
So you agree to work with Commissioner Plant, Commissioner Preston, and rewrite the resolution and bring it back at a later date?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Chairman, can I restate that? Have the county attorney to work with a resolution that we've already written up instead of being board.
Well, I think what he's saying is he doesn't want to do it just by himself. He would like to assist you two in rewriting it.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. Plant, would you like to restate that and say that you would like to table this resolution? Or withdraw it? So that we can do this?
The next meeting?
Yeah, let's withdraw.
I make a motion we take it to the next meeting.
Okay. Withdraw.
Withdraw.
Okay. Do we have a second? Well, let's see, no, we don't need a second on that. Okay, Commissioner Hall?
Yeah, I just want the record. There's one trucking company that came up here that paid on the bill, and they wouldn't accept the money because they couldn't pay it off. I think something like that should be in the resolution referring to that. True.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson? I mean,
Because that's being more detailed. My understanding of that situation is they try to pay the most recent year assessment just so to keep it active. But the law requires you to pay the oldest first. And I think they were attempting to just pay the most recent, not pay it all.
We should have told them that at the office, and maybe they could have did that.
Well, we talk more afterwards, but I'm trying to talk to their attorney and they're not paying it. So I understand what maybe somebody been told or what people are saying, but I know direct information about it, and that's not.
Hey, I do too. I know direct information about it.
Okay, I'd like to talk to you about the meeting.
Okay. I'll get with you.
It'll be highly relevant for the negotiation.
Okay.
Okay, so resolution number 3 has been withdrawn. So move on to resolution number 4, which is number 15 on the agenda.
Wait a minute, we don't have it on there yet.
Yeah, she's going into her system and withdrawing it. Okay, now we're on resolution 4.
Number 4 was motion by Dana, seconded by Ron.
The motion was by Dana Ferguson, This is it's a lengthy resolution, but I'll just read the bottom. Board of Commissioners of Benton County, Tennessee, assembled in regular session 19th day of January 2021, that the Benton County Mayor and the County Commission express its extreme concern with regards to the arrival of the new COVID-19 mutation coming from the UK and having a potential third COVID-19 wave. Request the Governor of Tennessee building to issue a statewide mask mandate in all public settings to better protect all residents of Tennessee until all residents have been given the opportunity for the COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, the floor is open. Commissioner Ferguson.
I understood, I thought we had the mandate in the county. Has it expired and you have not added it back?
The county mandate is totally separate from this. This is just recommending to the governor to have a statewide mandate.
But we do have the mandate.
We currently have a county mandate, and that was renewed and will renew at midnight tonight. Will renew for another 7 days. So our orders go for 7 days. The governor's orders can go, I guess, for a more extended period of time.
So we only have the option of 7 days at a time. Okay.
Commissioner Hopper.
Okay, for number one, it's not a proven fact that masks help us and eliminates this COVID-19. My opinion is, if you feel comfortable wearing a mask, you wear the mask, protect yourself. And if I feel like wearing a mask, I'll wear it. If I don't, it should be my choice and not somebody telling me up there in Nashville, you got to wear a mask, and that goes against what we believe in. Actually, I just don't agree with it.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler.
You know, I'm on about the same basis as Commissioner Hopper. Commissioner Hopper, I have a hard time with that. I want to call you Mr. Hooper. You know, that's if you keep your distance, practice the same thing. This mask here, I can't breathe. It sends my blood pressure up due to some of the issues I have going on. And, you know, I know we'll be sending something up there telling the governor that, hey, Benton County wants you to do this. You know, we've got our own little mask mandate going on here. We're looking at the numbers. I see the health department. I come by there on a daily basis. I do talking to people in the restaurant, or people are getting vaccinated. They're doing the 75 and above, the most critical people, things of that nature. And I agree with him too. This is America, and of course we'll have to wait to see what new president kicks in next day or so. But I'm just about in the same vote with Mr. McCall.
Commissioner Hill.
When you go into a store or restaurant, you may see a sign that says no shirt, no shoes, no service. Nobody even blinks at that. If you don't have a shirt on, you can't go into that store or restaurant. I know the masks are a pain, but if the CDC says they help, I don't think it's that much of a sacrifice. You know, you're going to have people with COPD who may have a medical reason, but for the most of us, we just hate wearing them, and if it helps slow the spread, I think it's a worthwhile thing to do.
Push the button again. Do we need to push the button again?
You want to speak?
It documents the time, that's why we might do that.
But, you know, and just like you said, if it makes you feel better about it, it's like Mr. Hooper said, it's never been proven that the mask does it. I deal with the N95 mask. I've actually donated some to the sheriff's department when we first come out with things. N95 masks still only good for 4 to 6 hours. These get saturated, you blow it up, and make a final. You know, you can argue anything. It makes finer particles. You can argue any way you want to. And I'm sure it helps an individual that's getting something. But if you have it, you wore this mask, you took it off to eat, wiped your nose, you put the thing back on, you contaminate the whole mask. The mayor referred know about a mask, a gas mask. You pull it off, you got to decontaminate. You know, and it's the same situation. I mean, yeah, you know, Just kind of want to express, and I ain't being mad about it, just, it's just everybody has a view of it, and it's been proven back that the masks just don't really do everything, because we're not wearing them properly as it is, and we're not using the proper mask, and things of that nature, and you don't wash that thing every 6 hours if it's cloth.
Okay.
All it tells me, I need the breath in earlier.
Let's move on. If no one else has anything to say about that, we'll ask for a roll call. What? Okay, wait a minute.
And I just want to add, everybody's got their own personal take on it. As we know, we have a countywide mask mandate. I was very reluctant to overreact. We wanted to see the numbers at first. Our numbers literally doubled in the course of 5 weeks. I believe the mask protects others, not yourself. And so it's like a DUI, a drunk driver coming your way. The DUI laws aren't designed to protect the driver. They're protect the oncoming folks from an inebriated or under the influence driver. But when it comes to a mandate,
they know they have a problem.
When it comes to a mandate, I do know just from our discussions locally, we did meet with the business community and a couple occasions, and some of them will not implement any type of protective measures within their operating environments without mandates. And we think of the large conglomerates where there's a large concentration of people. But we kept asking them, if they're doing it, the same store is doing it in this county, but you're not doing it in this county, and we have all these people out there, potential infections. And they said they won't do anything on a corporate level unless they have a local mandate. I'd imagine the theory can also be statewide, that you may have a lot of businesses out there statewide that simply will not incorporate any protective measures for their employees or their customers without a mandate. So I'm just throwing it out there that sometimes the mandate is for, the commercial or whether there's a threat, other entities, to be compliant to protective measures. In our restaurants, we see tons of mandates in our restaurants, not even related to COVID. Wash your hands, hair nets, serving food at certain temperatures. I mean, all those are regulatory issues. But if it helps you make a decision one way or another, this simply to tell the governor that you believe a mandate, statewide mandate is more beneficial. Again, I would rather see a statewide mandate than a countywide mandate. I don't believe a county mayor is going to solve a problem that's a statewide, nationwide, and worldwide issue. But we do have citizens out there that are very prone to taking a negative reaction to COVID. We have an elderly community that we know is very high in Benton County. Our numbers are double in deaths compared to counties around us that are even larger than us. And I believe a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have an elderly community. So keep in mind, mask is about protecting the people that you come in contact with, not to protect you from them. But it's all, like I say, just being responsible. But sometimes people need a mandate, sometimes they don't. That's my 2 cents.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Roll call, please.
Don Patton, abstain. Ward Plan, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Kalia Dye, yes. Norman Frazier, no. Gary Furr. Yes. Gary Furr, yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry, Tom. Sorry, Gary.
It's been on too long.
You got it now?
It's been on too long. Battery's running out.
No, I just don't like paper. Move on where
Dwayne Fowler, no. Sonny Paul, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, abstain. Roseanne Ward, no. Ronnie Elmer, no. I'm sorry, Mike. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? 9 yes, 4 no, 2 abstain, and 3 absent. That passes. That's what.
It said it passed by majority vote. Majority vote is yes. But you're saying majority over the whole commission, so it's 2/3.
No, simple majority would be 10 votes. Well,
I think that.
if the vote's correct and there's only 9 yes, then it failed because we need 10.
Right.
10 is a simple majority
Yes.
of 18 because we have 3 absent.
But that's why it's saying it passes is because the absent votes don't count in the system.
Well, actually, the resolution failed.
Okay.
Yeah, because
So
that's where it needs, the program itself needs to change.
We will contact them and have that fixed by the next meeting.
Okay, moving right along.
did that fail or pass?
It failed.
Okay.
Okay, to resolution number 5, the Tennessee River Basin Authority. We have a motion by Norman Frazier and a second by Mary Powers. Floor is open for discussion. Anyone want to say anything?
I like his hood.
Okay, Mr. Hopper, you're first.
I'm just a little confused on the numbers here. They say it's going to cost $1.4 million to do this. Looks like the WTRBA is going to chip in $500,000 plus another $147,000 out of another account, and then the county's going to chip in $200,000, or is the county going to put in $100,000 and the city going to put in $100,000? It doesn't really tell me. Anyway, that all doesn't add up to $1.4 million.
The match is totally different than the project cost. Now, they think that the project probably will be about $147,000. They don't know. We went ahead and wrote the language to say we're building ourselves for contingency. All right, what if it's 100? They really don't know until they get in there. But our full limit would be no more than $200,000, of which we're going to split with the city of Camden.
Okay, so that should be really.
We're hoping it comes in at 147, and we split 147.
Okay, but yeah, that should be stated in here that Camden's going to chip in at least $100,000.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yeah, I'm with Mr. Hopper there. I had an opportunity to talk to the city mayor about this, and this is broke down into 3 projects. Is that correct? No? No. So you're not going to do 3 sections. You're going to try to do it all at one time.
Well, you got to understand, this is from that intersection right there at Natchez Trace,
right,
all the way around to Highway 70 or South Fork.
Right. And what is that? $1.4 million there. What is that for?
That is basically the federal grant that West Tennessee River Basin Authority will administer.
And how many miles or how many? And that's just for what you're saying. What we're wanting to do now. That the city's either going to be 100, 200, they're going to pay us half of it, or they're going to pay for half of it. We'll pay a half, right?
So that is what we approached, and the city just had their meeting last month,
right?
Or last week, So they had to send us. We had to get this commitment letter in by the end of the month. You see, so I guess the question I would challenge you with is, let's say we're gonna come up with 200,000 ourselves, no one's gonna help us.
Right, there's no problem there. I'm just
Yeah.
looking at the factor of the $1.4 million. And I talked to the city mayor, I might have misunderstood him, but he's gonna donate half of this 200, or you may say it may go down to 175, but that's for just a certain section of this. Then we're gonna do another section of it, and we're gonna do another section of it. Is that correct?
Well, it's up to y'all.
We're
whether y'all
just approving this first section, right?
Yeah, that'll be a few jobs.
That's all we're gonna do.
We may not need to go beyond. You know, it's like Buck said, that this may solve the problems, and we may not have to go beyond.
Yeah,
we may wait.
We're not gonna spend $1.4 million. You know,
Just
saying
to do
we're
it.
agreeing to, they're gonna do that. Hey, yeah, it needs it bad. It really does. And the city.
And they're going to reconfigure. There's a lot that's going to go into this particular project, and
Yeah, that's all I want to clarify is that, you know, we're just doing this one-time thing, and we'll have to re-budget if we go further towards Cypress, or whether we come further back up toward Norwood, and things of that nature. Is that correct?
and it may be a 15-year project,
Exactly,
maybe a 20-year project.
exactly. We're mainly concentrating on the max of 200,000 here and splitting it with the city.
And the way this was worded was, if we had to come up with on our own 200,000 is what the county or city governments have to come up with in order to get this project.
Yeah, like I said, I've talked to the city mayor, he seems, you know, he's really on board with that. Or one of three.
Okay, the highway superintendent is in the back raising his hand. I think he's got something he'd like to say.
You talk about the amount that it's going to cost. The bridge that's down there, he was talking about replacing. That bridge fell under the Improve Act that happened 3 years ago. The state may pick that one up, and it may not cost what they're talking about. They were including the cost of this bridge in this too.
Right, and that's what we may drop from the 200.
Right, we may get a better deal.
My main thing was to make sure we wasn't going for the $1.4 million for all three stages of this.
One part.
One time
One
only
part.
right now.
That's one part.
That's it.
And like I said a while ago, if they get that one part done, it may alleviate most of the flooding that's coming down.
Right.
You may not need to do
Exactly.
stage 2 or
Wrap it up.
stage 3. Do one. And let's see what happens, and then go from there.
Exactly.
But we may come in a lot cheaper by this bridge, you know, if they
Yeah, if the state
pursue that.
Makes sense.
Okay, Commissioner Ferguson.
This was recommended by budget.
Okay, Commissioner Hopper.
I'll withdraw.
You're up, okay. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Don Patton, yes. Ford Plank, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Person, yes. Willie Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Fur. Gary Fur, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Mannery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? 15 yes. Motion carries.
Number 17 on the agenda is resolution number 6. This is the one that Ms. Barrett talked to us about earlier. We have a motion by Dana Ferguson. We need a second. Second by Ward Plant. Anyone want to speak on this? Commissioner Ferguson?
Recommended by budget.
Okay. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Don Patton. Yes. Ward Plank, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Aaliyah Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Fur. Gary Fur, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion carries.
Okay, number 18 on the agenda, resolution number 7. It's a resolution to urge the General Assembly to amend the provisions of the Private Act authorizing Benton County to audit mineral severance tax collection. We have a motion by Dana Ferguson and a second by Don Patton. Okay, Commissioner Ferguson.
This was not recommended by budget.
Okay. We don't have anyone ask.
I have a question. Probably Mr. Barrett can answer this. In the wording in this, it says, operator be liable for the collection and payment to the county of the tax. Does that go directly to the courthouse, or does that go to the state first?
Somebody needs to tell her about muting her phone.
Spit it out.
I am not certain if that goes directly to the county right now, or if it goes through the state. The clerk may be able to clarify that.
I'm under the
Whatever
impression it goes
process-
directly to the state now.
Whatever the process is in place, this isn't changing that. This is just adding the audibility aspect of it.
I understand, but the wording may need to be amended, is the reason I'm asking, okay? In other words, payment to the county is a direct sentence. I'm looking for somebody to help me with wording.
Let me see if I have the original Private Act.
Oh, it already did go. So,
I'm asking if I'm under the impression that it says payment to the county. Now, lawyer, you want to respond to this?
No, sir, you were looking at it right now. Ms. Wanda, this is an issue that came out before. Is that going to the state first, or going to you first at this time?
The state.
You didn't want to say that? That's it, it's going to the state right now, but in the past, it has come to the county, which caused a duplication in this at one point before my term, and it had to be corrected, but that's the way it's currently done.
Do you see a problem with this wording?
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Hey, Chairman.
Yes.
Your Private Act currently says it goes to the clerk. Local.
I'm sorry.
That's what I was about to say.
I'm sorry.
The issue is, on mineral severance tax, there's two different places where the authority comes from. There's some authority from state statutes, the code, and then the Private Act is a separate law, if you want to phrase it that way. What Ms. Donna's trying to do is add some authority to our Private Act, which is what we use for our mineral severance tax. I understand that in Wanda's office, that's the way they're doing it now, but I believe that's the reason why they're doing it that way is because there was mix-up and we were having to correct double payment for the previous vendor. And so I don't know if that's what the state director would do, or that's just what the House decided to make sure that wouldn't happen anymore in the future.
The state was the one who took.
To say to do that, and you're forward.
But the two companies that did that were still paying us and the state.
Yes.
They did that with the hotel. Now they'll start paying them into the state, and it'll come down to us, so we don't collect that anymore as of January 1st. I don't know if you are aware of that or not either.
As of January 1?
It started this January.
Is that going to be for all hotel motel tax, or I thought that was just the third-party platforms?
It says hotel motel tax.
I think that's only for third-party platforms. I'll get clarification on that tomorrow. I'll add that to the list.
But
I'm not changing your private.
What are you considering third party?
I'm sorry, third-party platforms are your Airbnb, Homeward, those that you would go in and book those through, if somebody had a private house and they were using an online booking agency, if you will. Those are the things that are they're starting to go through the state. It's only the third-party platforms, which are Airbnb and anybody that makes those reservations that way. I'll get that clarification for you tomorrow. But again, back to your question on this mineral severance. Your current private act says the county collects. If there's a dispute between the state and the county, and we discussed this earlier, it may be a grandfathering aspect that needs to be clarified, where the county's private act was in place before the state started collecting, and when the state started collecting, the counties that already had it in place as the collector were grandfathered in and are supposed to be the collectors of it. So that's a dispute to settle between the state. For your purposes in this, it's the private act that you currently have that has to be, that wording has it in there for the county to collect. All this is doing is adding the audibility.
Thank you.
And again, we also have in there the authorized tax collector. So if something gets worked out, the state could become the authorized tax collector in that case as well. Again, there are several different reasons for that authorized tax collector term to be in there, not necessarily a third-party private entity to do it. This would assist in that situation as well.
Commissioner Feller, would you want to speak?
Yeah, I'll be quick. This time, again, here with your Wanda's office, getting a lot going on, and again, he brings up a good point. There's a lot of ifs right here. I mean, we don't know what we got going on. It might be something that you could look into and maybe address this again in the next commissioner thing. We got more info on who gets the tax money, who's going to actually be the tax collector, and things of that nature. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a tax man.
Okay.
But it just sounds like there's a lot of stuff there that are probables.
Commissioner Frazier?
The tax collector term that's in this, does your agency qualify for that, to fulfill that role?
I could be.
Okay. Is that foreseen, Mayor?
Repeat.
Ms. Barrett being our tax collector, is that foreseen on this particular resolution?
Let me rephrase it. I could not be the tax collector. I could be the auditor, not the collector.
Okay.
I'm never the collector.
And then again, we're back to words.
You're back to words, but your private act currently allows the county. I understand the if this and if that and what. Those are things that are ongoingly worked out in just about every department on 1,500 issues daily. For this, you don't even have in place the system to audit yet. What this is doing is just setting up the authority that currently nobody has. You know, if they need to collect it versus state needs to collect it, at a point in time, the county did all of its own collecting of all its own taxes. You know, the state took that over years ago with business licenses and various other things. So if that takes place, it will supersede the private acts if the laws say so. Right now, what I'm hearing is there is a clarification that's needed as to whether or not your private act, as it is written, should be grandfathered in as we all read the statute to say that it is. That shouldn't affect this right here. All you're looking at is whether or not this tax needs to be auditable. And right now, the state doesn't have it or doesn't do it. This statute is what gives that to it.
I don't know that I have a problem with her agency doing the auditing. It's the big head single individual that I have a problem with.
Well, and there's also a process to go through here. You know, tax collection can involve the law, and we've got a county attorney here that can facilitate that action. Tax collection might be a process where the money's there, we haven't requested it. She's been very, very helpful in those type of situations. If we get to a point where we audit and determine that taxes are due and owed and all that process, that's what our minds are for, to get together and determine what the best course of action to collect it. Now, if we needed a bona fide third-party collector, we put that through via a resolution and authorize someone to probably do that for us.
Let me clarify first. My intent in this, I have no intention of becoming your auditor. That is not what I do. These mineral severances and pulpwoods, that's not my forte. I'd have to have a huge learning curve to do that. If I ever did, I would come back to this body. But this is not in any way a path for me to add something to my scope of work. Trust me, you've got plenty of other revenue sources that I'm more familiar with and can make happen. My goal is to assist. This is something that's just come about. your offices need the assistance to do because it's falling through the cracks, and I don't have the tools to do it right now. Nobody has tools to do it. It's best suited to give the authority here in your local offices first, and then we can go from there. There may become some entity that does become a professional auditor. That's not me for the purposes you're talking right now.
Thank you. A lot.
Attorney Johnson.
On the issue about the primary function, I think, of this resolution, I didn't draft it, but it's related to being able to audit and request records. As some of you know, there was an issue that I've been working on related to a particular company, determining whether or not they've been paying taxes or not. As I've drilled down into it all the way back to 1979, this county passed its Private Act in 1979, lays out certain protocols. One thing that act lacks is the ability for us to ask those companies for their records whenever they say they don't owe anything or they owe X dollars. That act, it doesn't say anything about we have the ability to request those records so we can determine whether they should be paying more or any at all. That's going to be important. It's something I'm working on right now. I need to be able to request those records because if they say no, I'm basically going to have to go back to the commission here and say, you've got to authorize a lawsuit just to find out information that if you would put this in there, I could just request to say the law says I have the right to request this information. Okay?
Thank you.
That part is the part that I think is important out of this resolution. As far as the liability of the operator, I'm not as concerned about that part. You all need the ability to request those records to know whether somebody's paying or not.
I'm good.
Commissioner Plain.
Yes, I'd just like to move us on and let's vote because what I read on it, it says the county clerk are authorized tax collector. So it's saying it all there. Whoever is going to be the tax collector is going to be the one to do it. So that answers to me everything that needs to be done out there. Spoke.
I'd like to know how many companies we have paying severance tax.
That's not a record I pulled in preparation for this. I can't have that information tomorrow.
I think it's maybe two. We're speaking of two companies, maybe three.
I think I did pull that one.
There's one that came, there's an issue that came before the commission, I think it might have been one of the committee meetings that was talking about the reason why they were not paying, and the commission asked me to look into that, and that's what I've done. And I'm still working on that, but this is one piece, request records from that company when they say they don't owe us any, when we believe that they probably do. That's something, a tool that we need. Whether it's Ms. Wander doing it or I'm looking into it for their office, I need to be able to request this company to give us those records. So that has to go to the people.
Well, I know one of them being Vulcan Materials. It's a very, very large company. And they also have Vulcan Materials. They also have pits in other locations, and they also give back a lot of money to the county. I would hate to say that we want to audit their records because we don't think they're paying the right amount.
That's one of what they're paying zero. And and the meeting that they came, I understand their feeling about not wanting to offend them or whatever, but they came to the meeting here and said, and pointed out to the members of this commission, the reason why they were paying zero is because they felt they were exempt. I found law that says otherwise, and I thought that essentially part of the reason that they agree with me. So if the commission wants to disregard a lot of money and not do it because they're, for that reason don't want to offend them for community sake or whatever, that's fine. But this commission told me to look into that and try to collect that money. We'll be collecting that money. So we were going to do that. Part of that time.
Well, I do know over the past years they've paid a lot of severance tax in this county.
Told you they zero. That's not mistaken. That's the report I got. And they came, their representative came here, their local representative, did a presentation to everyone, at least except for the new members. They did a presentation in this room, and they told us the reason why they felt that they were not paying it, and the reason why they weren't is because they thought they were exempt. And I've done research on that very issue.
Do you know of any other counties that they are still paying to?
The commission didn't ask me to look into other counties, just worried about Benton County, what you want me to look at. And
You're talking about a lot of money too, Roseanne, a lot.
And,
Oh, I know, a lot of money.
I mean, I don't know about other counties, and like that, but they're saying that they're not doing it because they're sending it out of state. All these minerals are taken from this county, they're selling it to out-of-state vendors, and they're saying they're exempt for that reason.
And the law is the law is the law. You know, their interpretation of it is not subject, you know, to collection or whatever. If they misinterpreted it, we'll find it. If interpreted it correctly, I imagine all that will wash out.
Mr. Fowler?
Yeah, one more time, we're talking about what, maybe 3 companies here in Benton County? 3 companies on that, and you said the state, the IRS says that they found that. Then again, I mean, we want the money, exactly, but is it our job to tell the state what to do? I mean, if you just said that the IRS says they owe it, or you found a place in there, because, you know, I want them to pay it, that's law, I gotta pay taxes, everybody gotta pay taxes, but do you want us to sit here and say that, and they say, just like the chair says, if you're talking about certain gravel or a lime pit, I mean, like I said, they have 3 or 4 other places that they can do. Don't get me wrong, I ain't saying don't let them not pay it, but do we as commission, of Benton County Commissioners, want to say, hey, look, you need to pay this, or do you want to make, there's a state now, does the state, he says, am I misinterpreting that? You said that the IRS says.
Partly you are. You said that the IRS says, that's not, I didn't say that the IRS.
Well, you said something, I
said
can do it again.
That I researched the issue because the commission was concerned about it, and you all charged me to do that, and I did that. And I researched and felt that the company is incorrect in their interpretation. To make sure, I checked with the Tennessee Department of Revenue, not the Revenue Office, but their legal counsel, and they agreed with my research. And so to your point, you're saying, why would the state do that? Well, the state told me themselves, this is Benton County, it is our job, because this is our private act. We passed this private act ourselves, not the state of Tennessee. Benton County passed the private act.
Oh, this is private, no other county. So the county does.
Well, other counties do tax that kind of thing, but what we're using is our own private act. And so, yes, to me, it is our job, but I mean, if y'all want to do it, that's fine.
I mean, yeah, that's
Commissioner Ferguson?
Is this the companies that paid us too much?
No.
And then they stopped?
No.
Okay, that was my question.
Commissioner Hill?
The way I see it is, all this resolution is doing is saying that as a county entity, we should have the right to look at their records. It's not saying that we're accusing them or saying how much they owe. The sheriff's office, anyone can come in and say, you know, we want access to these records, public information. Everyone who does business has to understand that at some point their records need to be viewable for accuracy, for liability, for whatever. If a company has to be scared that we want to look at their records, maybe we really need to look at their records. I don't think that's going to offend the company saying we want to check your records for accuracy. That's not an accusation. It shouldn't offend anybody. Everyone has to answer to someone else in life, and I don't see how this is threatening in any way.
Anyone else, Ms. Barrett?
And if I could clarify, the state always welcomes help from the locals in gathering information. Again, the state oversees 95 counties, plus innumerable numbers of municipalities and cities and towns within that. This is correctly stated a private act for Benton County. Other counties do have various private acts. We're not the only county that has mineral severance or Pokewood or hotel motel, any number of those. But it's something that the state has allowed the counties to do individually. There is some either publicly stated in the private act or just innate expectation from the state that do this, y'all need to step up first and do the research and verify these records. We'll be there to back you up, but they're not going to be the first ones to come out and start auditing things.
Well, let's see.
Bad dog of them.
Okay, anyone else? Roll call, please.
John Patton, yes. Ward Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, no. Kenneth Miller, yes. Ricky Preston, yes. Leah Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, no. Gary Fur. Gary Fur, no. Dwayne Fowler, abstain. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, no. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
I will.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, 11 yes, 3 no, 1 abstain. Passed by majority vote.
Number 19, which is resolution number 8. Let's do payments. A 5-minute break. Let's take a 5-minute break.
We're not even halfway through.
I got you for this one.
You beat me out.
I got it.
I'm getting cramps in my legs from sitting too long. We're not even halfway through yet.
I just asked for 10 minutes around here. They wouldn't breathe.
All they did was that's what we details they not doing it. They should have we think that we sell it. So we need that. And that was 3 new jobs for the county. You take that, they crazy and not understand.
You know
Mr. Hopper, appreciate your work on that. Everybody got their own take on that. I'm not gonna try to change your mind. I give it to everybody. You got all done, and that's as far as I go with it. You know, it doesn't matter. You're gonna change the government mind. I'll let you change the resolution. I haven't heard anything from him when he said it, but she left there. I've had one or two told me that they. I ain't, you know, that's just, I hope we wake up tomorrow and it's all right. It ain't right.
I got to get some things on all there too. In Charles, Mr. Hooper said,
just got to cover expenses today.
I like it.
We're going to be completely out of it. Come next week.
They can't get the vaccine.
Okay, let's get back.
People need to sit down. I'm not going to take it anyway.
A lot of people die.
We're not even halfway done. That's the thing.
Something stronger than that.
No.
We're not gonna change
Yeah, we're gonna have to do something. 9 o'clock and we're not halfway through.
Just like he said, just get a vaccine.
We're not halfway through. 3 hours and we're not halfway through.
You don't have to be.
I'm getting old, you know. I'm getting old.
And I will find your name. Those that write your name for me.
Now we're going to put in, we got to put in for overtime.
I don't know what it is. I can't see it. If you see me jump off the road,
This last
we'll work it out.
And that determines if it qualifies it for a pass or whatever. But what's your
Ronnie? Well, talking about ready to jump. You about ready to jump?
Hey, Rocky.
You about ready to jump?
Yeah.
Big low, shock top, and butterflies, all the frosted glass.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Hey, Dana, the only exception to that would be if someone abstains with call.
Right. they can abstain, but they don't have to do it as a cause.
Right.
Norman actually talked, he told me, or emailed me, and he has some concerns about that. We might set ourselves up for a lawsuit. He and I talked about that.
Let's go.
I agree, let's go. Let's get this moving and go through these now.
Add them up, America. How many people drunk right here tonight?
We can't.
I just want to use that. But no arbitrary thing.
We cannot. We got a lot of new money.
And as far as
we cannot
I don't know
combine
if you use the word tax collector or whatever that name is coming over.
Okay, let's go. Your battery running out already? We better hurry up or all of these are going to find each other. 6 hours?
Let's call the commission back to order, please. Where'd everybody go?
Hunting for food?
Not all of them. We'll open up here in about an hour, y'all. So we'll have some wings.
Past my bedtime. It's time to go to sleep.
Okay, we have moved to resolution number 8, which is about the Benton County Airport. Is in need of both a reappointment and a new appointment due to the expiration of a term and a recent vacancy. We have a motion by Commissioner Hopper and a second by Commissioner Ferguson. No one's asked to speak, so roll call, please.
John Patton, yes. Ford Plant, yes. Brandon Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Clay Adele, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Furr. Gary Furr, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone who wishes to change their vote?
Motion passed. Number 21 on the agenda, which is resolution number 9. Funds in the amount of
20.
That's cut off my resolution. Be budgeted within the animal shelter budget as follows. We have a motion by Dawn Patton and a second by Dana. Any questions, Dana Ferguson?
Yes, this was recommended by budget, but we have to change some stuff because in the third paragraph, the second line, it says, date of January 2021, that the funds in the amount of blank be budgeted within the shelters, animal shelters budget. So we have to put in $7,777.06 in that little place right there. So I guess I make a motion to do that.
There should be a button on there.
Well, it should be. Is that a man?
Yeah. Amen. Okay.
I pressed it. Did it not like my pressing it?
We've got a second by Sonny Hall on the amendment. In this place, the next one, it's got a dollar mark for the amount. She wants to add the correct amount.
$77, I went for, and 60.
Okay, this is on the amendment. Roll call.
Yeah. This is.
That's eight.
Yeah, this is the motion to amend, so it would be, Ms. Danny, you're gonna have the motion for your, maximize salary, make sure it's written the way she wants it. Correct?
Yep.
Okay. So now, I believe you're ready for your vote.
Okay, roll call. This is on the amendments to put the correct amount in the resolution.
Don Patton, yes. Ward Plan, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Leah Dye, yes. Norman Frazier, yes. Gary Farr. Gary Farr, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Henry, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? Motion passes 15 yes.
And now we're going to vote on the resolution as amended. Vote on it as amended.
I'm sorry, everybody. We're still learning this.
We know.
Don Patton, yes. Ward Plan, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Leah Dye, yes. Norman Frazier, yes. Gary Farr. Gary Farr, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Henry, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? Pass.
Resolution number 10 is from the Sheriff's Department. That the funds in the amount of $8,401.91 received by the Benton County Sheriff's Office for revenues for the last 3 months of 2020 be budgeted as follows. We have a motion by Norman Frazier and a second by Dana Ferguson. And, Dana Ferguson?
This failed in budget.
Anyone else?
I just want to say that one of the items as to why this failed in the budget discussion was that part of our strategy in our budgeting, we mentioned this 2 years ago, was that we need to begin refunding monies back into the general fund. And so this particular resolution is just assuming the fact that when money comes in, it's just going to go right back into the same department. And although that may be the case down the road, should there be a need, if we begin continuing that behavior, keep in mind, all we're doing are inflating the budgets. And so strategy is that, you know, money in doesn't always mean money back. And so that was kind of the topic of the discussion during the budget committee, and that's why it did not probably receive the affirmative vote to pass it with recommendation.
There was also the sale of property. They wanted to know if that went through the proper procedure, and no one could tell us if it did.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yeah, this budget here, we looked at that. Is this part of the budget, Rochelle, that reverts back to 25 something? So 25, what's the amount y'all get? It reverts back $25,000 or something like that, or?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know we had talked about that during law enforcement. I know your insurance recovery is most likely your deductibles, right? Does the law enforcement reset every year as far as this budget, this money here or not?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It does? So you start over again with a certain amount every year, right? And this money, is this money going back into that for this year? And then if they don't use it for what these projects are, and you know, I look at our insurance recovery, that's your deductible insurance, most likely, is that correct?
No, sir, the deductible comes out of our budget. Well, we pay the entire amount of a repair.
Right.
What the insurance company gives us is the amount of the repair minus 500. So if insurance recovery we're getting back is $37.95, add 500 to it for what it actually cost for the repair, because the insurance company subtracts the deductible.
Oh yeah, I know
from
that.
the, right.
Yes, right.
So out of our maintenance and repair of vehicles, we would have paid $500 over this amount for said repair. This money is just replacing what we had to spend for some
Out
sort
of
of
this
collision repair.
$25,000, right? I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
for vehicle maintenance, yes.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, you just replace it, and no matter what, it resets at the first of the year, correct?
Yeah.
It starts over again.
Not the first of the year.
Fiscal year.
Commissioner Powers, you're recognized. Commissioner Powers.
Tell her to unmute her microphone.
Commissioner Powers, unmute your microphone, please.
Somebody texted.
Did we lose her?
Yeah, she was sneezing too much.
I thought she said COVID.
Yeah, no, she hadn't learned how to use the mute button correctly.
Okay,
She could have fell asleep.
Well, she's still voting, so.
okay, does anyone else have anything to say about this resolution? If not, we're gonna go on to roll call.
She needs to press your button.
Don Patton. Yes. Ward Plan. Yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller. Yes. Dorothy Preston, yes. Leah Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Fur. Yes. Gary Fur, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sunny Hall, yes. Rochelle Hill, yes. Mike Gunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers.
I think she changed her vote.
Mary Powers.
Thanks, Doug.
Mary Powers.
Mary Powers.
We need you to vote, Miss Mary.
Yes, I would like to make a comment first. I don't appreciate the comment.
You want to talk?
From Commissioner.
Chairman, is your board, you want to recognize Miss Mary Powers?
Yes, Ms. Powers, we tried to recognize you and we couldn't get you to hear us, so go ahead and speak if you want to.
Yes, I know. And I don't appreciate the comment from the other commissioner.
Which comment? Okay.
And it's not funny.
I just said she's asleep.
And what I was going to say is it's important for us to hear what other commissioners are going to say, because it could influence our vote one way or the other. That's all I have to say.
Okay, did you want to say something about the resolution earlier before when we couldn't hear you?
yes.
Okay. You've already voted, so.
Yes.
She needs to vote.
Ms. Powers, you still don't have your vote.
Ms. Powers?
I voted yes.
Okay, thank you.
I voted yes.
Okay.
Try it again, Ms. Powers.
She's saying yes.
Miss Mary, will you try it one more time? It won't let me do that. Is it?
She's logged into it, so it knows that she's supposed to do
Miss Mary, do you mind voting, trying to push it one more time? It won't let me do that.
it. There you go, yeah, vote one. Count it up.
Thank you. 15 yes, 3 absent.
Number 22 on the agenda is resolution number 11.
Can we combine these two, 11 and 12?
No, new money.
New money?
One of them's new money.
I thought it was grant money.
I was about to say, don't do that to us, because that'd take even longer. Come on.
Yeah, no, well, we can't because the rest of them are new money, so we can't combine them.
Okay, resolution number 11, we have a motion by Dana Ferguson and a second by Don Patton. Anyone want to speak on this?
This was recommended by budget. I keep forgetting to press that button.
It doesn't show anyone wants to speak, so roll call, please.
Tom Patton, yes. Ward Plan. Yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. William Down, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Farr. Gary Farr, yes. Dwayne Tyler, yes. Sunny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Motion passes. Move on to number 23, which is resolution 12. To appropriating the funds in the amount of $100,000 from the unassigned fund balance within the school fund. We have a motion by Don Patton and a second by Dana.
It was recommended budget, and this is classified new money, but it's over in their little pot of money, but we still have to have the 2/3 vote. That's why we say new money.
Roll call, please.
Tom Patton, yes. Ward Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Delia Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Farr. Gary Farr, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sunny Hall, yes. Rochelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Motion passed. Number 15, which is resolution number 14. 13. We have a motion by Don Patton, a second by Dana. It is the resolution of appropriating funds in the amount of $18,350 from the unassigned fund balance within the county general fund in order to fund 2 full-time positions desperately needed. Commissioner Ferguson?
All right, I'm just going to say it makes it a whole lot easier. All the rest of them were recommended by budget, and they're all new money.
Okay. Next will be Commissioner Hopper.
Who are these 2 employees going to be?
The 2 employees are already with us. One of them is the floater position that we have at the airport, and the other is the additional custodian that we have here in the courthouse, assisting with the duties of various county buildings.
Oh, okay.
question I have for budget or mayor.
Okay. Mr. Frazier, can you wait just a minute, please?
I was flashing red.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Has anybody done the math to see what these two positions yearly cost is? We're just voting $18,000 for July 1, correct?
Yeah, one of the grants runs out, I believe, February 15th or 14th, and the other grant runs out March 15th, March 14th or 15th. So they're a month apart, and this calculation gets us through to June 30th. But roughly, they're starting off at the entry level, what an entry level employee would start off at. What I believe is at $23,200 with benefits. So I think the big question that you would need to ask yourself is, are they needed, or do we need 2 more positions? And I would highly encourage it, because we're really understaffed.
I agree with that.
You know,
I asked you about using one for Mr. Pfeiffer, because he does need a helper, and with him being OSHA, it's already in the regulations that he needs a helper. And we talked about one of the floaters helping him from time to time.
and what we thought with the floaters is that they'd help out at the airport, which they are, which I wish they'd gotten more training, helping out at the parks, helping Greg, the county maintenance, and possibly even the animal shelter. But you kind of need that jack of all trades person that can float around and be a contribution to multiple things in case someone goes down. And we've got the same problem with the Veteran Service Office as well. So the next budget may reflect some part-time help for the Veteran Service Officer that knows that job. So if that person goes out, we're kind of resting on a lot of one-person type operations.
I understand. Thank you.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and to understand it's for the COVID thing and the floater. You're talking about at the airport. But did we not just talk earlier about having applications for that job eventually? Are we still good with that, right?
Yes, we still plan on advertising for an airport manager.
And I just see it, I see a little wording thing here. I'm sitting too close to Norman. You're saying this is 2 temporary positions of a full-time custodian. Can we not pull the word full-time out of that?
No, one of them will be a full-time custodian. Right now, we have 1 custodian. And so we do have a definite need for another full-time custodian.
And what will that custodian be doing?
Well, custodian. I mean, right now they help clean the courthouse. They'll go down to the annex. We've got a couple other county buildings. We sent them out to the airport the other day. So it's too much for one person.
Will this be for COVID time, or one of these positions will be a full-time?
They're going to be permanent.
Out of taxpayers' dollars, right?
Once they're going to become permanent.
How did we clean the buildings before? I mean, when they were, I thought, can we keep adding things, and we got offices here that probably.
As I said, we're severely understaffed, to be honest with you. We've been going on a skeleton crew for years, and our buildings suffer in the process. I think the cleanliness and the hygienic and sanitary conditions of all of our buildings suffer. I mean, we do have a part-time cleaner at one of our other buildings, but again, just ask yourself the question: do you think we need it or not? I mean,
Well, yeah, of course we need the help, but you look at, of course, things are tight and money's hard.
Actually, we had the best financial year we've had.
Yeah, I know, this year, but now I see that. But I mean, I just one thing I worry about is, the wording of it. You're saying you're using 2 temporary positions,
and we're converting them to a full-time permanent.
Just one of them. Just one of them, right?
Both of them. I mean, we're going to have a floater position, and we're going to have a custodian position.
Well, did you put this on the board like we're supposed to apply for these individuals? Was this appointed, or did you put out an application for figures for these jobs? Don't get me wrong. At least we're going to do by the book, but need to do by the book.
And honestly, we will put it on the board. We will put this in an application. We can't do it until you give us the funding for it. Once we get the funding for it, the advertisement will come out. So we have them ready to go.
Okay. We don't have anyone else on? Yes, you're recognized.
I do want to say something. I know that the funding, we do need this for the custodial and everything, but I do want y'all to remember when I did come to y'all and ask for a little raise for my girls, my office was the only one who did get a raise. and I was turned down, but we can go and give these other salaries. I'm just wondering why I was turned down.
Bingo.
I just wanted that in there, but we do need them in the custodial. They're awesome. I do want to say that. It's just, it bothers me that I've asked for 3 to 4 years in a row just because I didn't put it in a resolution. But look out for the county of the funding too. But I just want that stated that I have asked for that and I've been turned down numerous times.
Hey, Commissioner Frazier.
I hear you, Wanda, and I hate that that didn't happen. I was going to say this for the commissioner stuff at the end, but probably be asleep by then. We need to be looking at a lot of different things when it comes to money in our employees right now. Very good chance that we're going to be faced with this minimum wage thing that's coming, and that could be on the next budget. Okay, so y'all can get prepared for more monies. We've got a lot of positions that are vacant around here that do need fulfilling and or moving forward with. So just be aware that we've got payroll issues coming. Thank you.
Okay. Sheriff Christopher, you're recognized.
For the last 2 years, I have asked and brought documentation from the state that says we're supposed to have 31 officers as their recommendation. We only have 20, and I asked for 2 and was turned down twice. But also during budget, I was told this year, because budget never met with me, they told me that we would not be adding any raises and we would not be adding any employees this year, that we could. I'm all about us getting more people at the courthouse, but I'm dealing with situations down there at that jail and we don't have enough officers and nobody's trying to help me get any officers. I was just told we wasn't going to do it. Well, within 6 weeks, we got up here in the county commission meeting and said we're giving everybody at the courthouse this raise, and I'm all for it, 100% they need it. Sheriff's Department didn't get it, and I was told if I'd wait 2 months, they would get back with me, and we would get that worked out so that we got the same as the courthouse employees. The school system and the highway department have their own monies, and they can move it around and give raises, and the state gives the teachers raises and whatever. We don't have that luxury in the Sheriff's Department. And so far, nobody's talked to me, and I've contacted one of the commissioners that said he would do that several times. He'd get back with me, and he hasn't. We've got to have some help in the Sheriff's Department desperately. Well, we're working on a good day at 2/3 staff. Now then, I've got the employees out with COVID at the jail, and we don't have anywhere to go because I asked for 4 extra corrections officers to get us up to what the state said we're supposed to have, and I can't get that. So all the overtime is overtime anytime anybody's out. So our money, we're wasting money up here by not hiring the employees we need, what we're supposed to have. So everything we have to do to cover it comes out overtime. And I've told budget, and I also told the law enforcement committee, you can get ready. We're going to have a tremendous amount of overtime. It's going to be unbelievable. And as soon as the court system opens back up, we'll probably be having court 3 or 4 days a week trying to catch up for at least a year. And all that's going to be overtime. There's no way in this world that we can stay within our budget. Mostly because we don't have the people that we're required to have. I'm just saying the same thing that Wanda did. We asked for help and we can't get it, but we can add on more people to come in as candidates. And I agree we need them, but we've always took care of our own county buildings ourselves, and now that we can't, and the Sheriff's Department can't get anything, Wanda can't get anything, we've got to take care of the officers that we've already got. And I know somebody's going to talk now and shoot this down, but I'm just telling you, we're in a bind down there with this COVID thing. I've got employees out on the deputy side, I've got a bunch out in the jail, and we've got a situation and we don't have any people. And my people are wore completely out. We have to call them in every day for overtime. So just think about that when you vote.
Commissioner Plant?
Sheriff, is there any way that you he's wanting to hire two, why can't we just get 2 deputies? If you got it, not deputies, but some of you, can you not allocate where he'd have men to clean these stairwells and things and work with them? That would help. If you got that jail.
I would, but I've already got COVID in the jail. We managed to keep COVID out longer than any of the other jails that I know of around. Now, I've got all my trustees laid down. I've got 10 trustees, and they've all got COVID. So we're in quarantine for another week.
I know we heard for help. Mow these yards, pick up right. We had,
That's where they got the COVID at. They're the only ones who's been out.
That's what we run into. We're trying to do it. Right. The law, I mean, he's required by anyone comes in for the COVID. He don't have the personnel. That's where if you had personnel to furnish like that, he wouldn't have to hire nobody. Even at the airport, cleaning up, mowing, we wouldn't have to hire nobody.
But I don't have that. I don't have that amount of personnel. And then you have problems when you have inmates like they act up, you've got to lay them down. They get into something, the judge lays them down. Whatever it might be, there's nothing you can depend on having. You can use them, we use them for everything. And I think that's where they contracted that was out here picking up trash on the side of the road. I was in contact with people when we put the ice skate rink up. We've done everything we can in the community to help. We don't have that kind of manpower. I only have 10 in there. I usually have about 8. 3 of them have to be assigned to the kitchen, 1 has to be assigned to the laundry. That just leaves me what I've got left there. So I got 3 or 4 that I can use on this outside project. We try to do everything in the community we can, cutting wood to picking up trash, whatever it is. But I just don't have enough in that closet to hold my trustees on the whole level. So that's where we're at.
Commissioner Miller?
How many positions do you have that are not filled over there now?
I hired 4 this week, and we'll put on the deputy side. I need 4 more on the correction side, because we're supposed to be, by the state requirement, have 6 per shift. We don't have it. And if something happens in that jail, we don't have it. That's what I've been saying. And then every time, everybody's got 2 weeks vacation, they've got 6 days, they've got everything. So every time anybody's out, it's overtime. And that's pretty much constant on every shift. So if we hire people for janitors, I'm all for it, not knocking it at all. We're going to have to do something down there, especially since this COVID has got into the jail. And I've checked, and we're one of the last ones, I think, to get any COVID in the jails. All the jails around us have some. And I've been speaking to all the sheriffs, and we kept it out a long time. But it's just a matter of time when we bring people in off this interstate up here. We don't know where they've been and what they've done. We bring them in, we quarantine them, the nurse checks them, and then still you don't know what they got. A few days later, you find out you got somebody with COVID. So we've been very fortunate so far, but that's come to an end now. We're just battling right now.
How about part-time people, people back, so it gets over with?
I'd like to, but I can't find anybody to work part-time. And I'll just go ahead and say this. I got four of my officers that come and talk to me, and they're applying for the PHP. They're a crossover program. They only have to go to the academy half the time, the ones that are certified, and they're going to go if they get it. And I can't blame them. The benefits, the insurance. So if I lose 4 certified officers, guys, we're going to find them. And I can't pay them any more than what I'm paying. So I don't blame them for going.
Trooper make more as a rule with the county officers.
Oh, yeah. And I don't blame them for going, but it's going to put us in a bind because they're not leaving Carroll County to go. They're not leaving Henry County to go. They are us because we don't pay enough money.
Okay, I'm going to recognize the mayor right now.
Okay, Sheriff, you got to forgive me before I speak. Maybe I know not what I do, but first of all, when it comes to the mask mandate, I've not noticed any of your deputies, anybody in public ever wear a mask. So I know that the conscience that they probably disrespect wearing a mask or whatever. I mean, maybe COVID isn't something that they feel is a threat, but I commend y'all on going as long as you did, because you know that it was not a matter of if, but probably when. And y'all did a good job at holding off this long, and this is why when it comes to the mask mandates. We held off 9 months when other counties were doing it. We did it based off the numbers. So COVID is here, and it's hit us all, and all I ask is that we show it somewhat of respect of a threat that it could be, you know. Now, when it comes to the raises, okay, this body right here gave you the largest, not tax, but salary adjustment increase in county history. We've never given raises of that dollar amount at a single passage. Now, all those raises we're doing was really just bringing you up to level water. I mean, you know, we know that raises are never going to be enough in your line of work. I mean, but if I'm not mistaken, we came back again with another adjustment after that. Now, they gave everybody across the board 10% raise. Okay? Okay, I want y'all to look. He's saying no. I think y'all voted in a payroll increase last year, 10% across the board. Now, you adjusted it, and you had that authority to adjust it. And I understand we know why you adjusted it, because some people were way out of whack, and some people, you took the discretion to do that. I think we came back after that and adjusted it yet again. But it's still not enough. In your line of work, it's never going to be enough. Teachers in Benton County do not make as much money as teachers in Dixon County. So if we go and raise, keep in mind that we're just going to trigger another county to say, well, we're getting out recruited by Benton County. You know, so I've got a feeling due to the size of our county, we're always going to be a little bit behind the curve of comparable salaries when you look around. I mean, that's just whether it be teachers, police officers, or whatever. It's something we have to deal with, and it's a challenge. You know what I mean? I have to deal with it on this level. You have to deal with it in your department. But by all means, and you did this last year, and they shut you down. I know the budget committee shut you down at that time. But again, you've got a good argument. Look at the challenges you've got. You can't attract people here, and the ones you got, you get man down, and it just compounds it. I don't think we're going to be able to do it before the budget process. I mean, we need to maybe shoot for July 1st. If we can hold off that long, you know, I'll support you on it. We'll work the numbers. We'll do as best as we can, but we've got to learn to give and take a little bit. You know, when you say 31 officers, I don't think that we're capable of doing that. You know what I mean? So
I only asked for 2.
Well, I know you've got 2 in your budget line right now that you can hire right now if you've got the money for it. You just haven't filled the positions.
Well, we hired 4 deputies this week.
But you're still probably 2 down, or if you've lost any. So again, come to my office, let's work it. But honestly, you've got a good argument. I understand, you know. But we got to convince the legislative body, because that is a big hit when you go with raises, additional positions. It will generate a tremendous tax increase. As Commissioner Frazier said, we don't know about minimum wage. We don't know about a lot of things, but I'm with you on it. You know what I mean? I do know that you can use some more staffing. But I would say, please give the body some benefit of the doubt. I don't know of anybody that supported the sheriff's office like this particular legislative body has. And they have to work within the numbers. So maybe you weren't attending when they voted those increases in, but I know many of you were, and I was, and I remember vividly. Okay, well,
when you vote in a 10% raise, they'll put enough money in there to cover 10%.
But they based it upon the numbers that they had, that was presented to them. And okay, so it adjusts out to 8% for everybody. 8% was 8% more than they had got the day before. So they need to be celebrated for that. I mean, they came to the table to help you out, and by you saying that you have not been supported by this is.
Can we have this discussion some other time? This is going to be midnight here pretty soon.
Let me say one thing. I think your deputies are in line with what Decatur County makes.
Decatur County in here too.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler, did you still want to say anything?
All I was wondering is, have y'all received y'all's COVID shots yet, being an essential?
I got my second one today. The staff is getting their shots as it goes, as they call us in to get them. I received my second one, and some of my other guys are getting their second one, I think, Thursday. And the rest of the staff has come along, they set us up to come in. I think most everybody has had their first one.
Okay. Well, I'm just just looking at the chance of y'all getting sick, you know, and things of that nature.
I've only got 2 officers. I've only got 1 deputy out right now. One's coming back. I've had a couple out, a couple of dispatchers, and I think I've got 8 in the corrections.
Roseanne, let's cut him short and let's get on with the show.
Well, okay, Mr. Patton, I just don't want to be disrespectful, but has anybody else got to say anything? Okay, roll call.
Don Patton, yes. Ward Clement, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Chris Miller, yes. Lucky Preston, yes. Toya Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, abstain. Gary Farr. Gary Farr, yes. Wayne Fowler, abstain. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Number 25. The motion passed. Resolution number 14, appropriating funds in the amount of $20,000 from the Archives Record Preservation Reserve Account in order to purchase records preservation material. We have a motion by Dana Ferguson and a second by Don Patton.
I never get no motion on my thing.
Look quick at it.
You're not fast enough.
Gotta be quicker.
It ain't on there. It's just a man or question
Well,
speaking.
no, it's done.
Huh?
It's done.
Even before that, there was on it.
Commissioner Preston, you're flashing that you would like to speak.
If I did, it was accidental. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's fine.
I'm gonna get canceled.
Okay. Then, no discussion, roll call.
Don Patton, yes. Ward Clement, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Chris Miller, yes. Lucky Preston, yes. Toya Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, abstain. Gary Farr. Gary Farr, yes. Wayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Okay, motion passed. Resolution number 15, to appropriate funds in the amount of $1,200 from the Chancery Court Data Processing Reserve Account in order to purchase a new upgraded laptop for Chancery Court. We have a motion by Dana Ferguson and a second by Don Patton. Any questions? Dana Ferguson.
I want to say that most of this money is sitting over there in one of their other line items. It's not, it's in their account, but it's in line items, and that's why it's classified new money.
Okay. Roll call.
Don Patton. Yes. Ward Clement, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Ken Miller, yes. Lucky Preston, yes. Toya Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Farr. Gary Farr, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Motion passed. Resolution number 16 is appropriating funds in the amount of $5,000 from the unassigned fund balance within the county general fund in order to cover the negative balances within the election commission's budget. I have a motion by Don Patton, a second by Sonny Hall. Mr. Frazier.
Yes, question. Does anybody know why you need $5,000? Yes.
I was told that he didn't realize he had another election or something, and he didn't have enough money.
Sounds like poor management to me.
But they also had COVID meetings as well. You know, COVID was thrown on them and it changed the entire election process, as we know. And they had to plan and prepare for that as a body and how they were going to accept the votes and the voting process. And they definitely had multiple meetings that they had not really planned for.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ferguson?
Can we get that back from the COVID, stuff?
We'll definitely report it.
Okay, good. That's all I wanted to make certain.
Okay, roll call.
Don Patton. Yes. Ward Plan. Yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. William Dye, yes. Norman Frazier, no. Gary Fur. Gary Fur, yes. Dwayne Feller, abstained. Sonny Paul, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, abstained. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Resolution number 17.
Does not pass.
Did it have 11 or 12?
It has to have.
It passes.
No, it has to have 13. It has to have the majority. It's new money.
12.
12 gives you the majority.
What was the resolution number again?
17.
12 passes.
16.
16 is the one you just voted on.
Yeah.
16.
This is the voting history.
This is
So
the
you have
the
12
election
yes,
committee.
1 no.
2/3.
2 abstain. So however you guys want to say, that's
12 supposed to pass it all right there. 10 passes up. It's always been that way ever since I've been here.
So we have
New money.
Majority of 18 is 10.
2/3 is
So
12.
we got 12.
I mean, that's gonna say it passed, but
I mean, we can always write in there that it failed. This is how you all voted. You voted 12 yes, 1 no, 2 abstain, 3
12
abstain.
passes. Always has.
Pass it. I don't care.
okay, pass. We're gonna say it's passed.
Yeah, that's 12. It's 2/3.
Chairman, your option is passed.
Give the option to change your vote. Give the option to change your vote.
No, we need to change the vote.
I appreciate you thinking that.
Chairman, what is your rule?
My rules is that it passed.
It passes, it passes. It's 2/3. Moving on.
2/3 it passes.
Chairman rules. I love you.
Okay, number 29. No, wait a minute, I'm going back up. Number 28, resolution 17. It's money to purchase the 7 Verizon Wi-Fi jetpacks due to the COVID-19 crisis in order to ensure that county employees have full capability to telework during closures. It's in the amount of $2,400. I have a motion by Don Patton, a second by Norman Frazier. And Rochelle, Commissioner Hill?
Yeah, I have a question. Is this going to be an increase that will be from this point going on? Is this a permanent increase, and how much is it per month to the bill?
Okay, the additional month is going to be $200 a month.
Okay, thank you.
And so, and it will help in our remote workers being able to work remotely.
Kenneth, you riding on those jetpacks?
No, it's not like that. I asked.
Roll call, please.
Pass that.
Good grief. I thought we were going to have something to write.
Don Patton, yes. Ward Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Rocky Preston, yes. Kalia Dye, yes. Norman Frazier, yes. Gary Fur. Gary Fur, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Nunnery, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ron Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Okay, folks, we're down to the last one on the agenda, 29, which is resolution 18, and it's money for the new security locks on the courtroom doors. They need keyless entry keypads, and the amount is $300. I have a motion by Norman Frazier and a second by Dana Ferguson. We have no questions, so roll call.
Don Patton, yes. Ford Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Roger Preston, yes. Leah Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Fur. Yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Hunter, yes. Roman Ward, yes. Ron Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Next is the appointing of notaries. We have 8 names we're going to read out. Carly Bayless, Diane Bull, Sherry Lent, Janet Elkins, Kimberly McCall, Jeffrey Murphy, Thomas Townsend, and Susan Turnbow. I have a motion by Don Patton, second by Leah Dye. No questions, no roll call.
Don Patton, yes. Ford Plant, yes. Dana Ferguson, yes. Kenneth Miller, yes. Roger Preston, yes. Leah Dye, yes. Norman Fraser, yes. Gary Fur, yes. Dwayne Fowler, yes. Sonny Hall, yes. Michelle Hill, yes. Mike Hunter, yes. Roseanne Ward, yes. Ronnie Hopper, yes. Mary Powers, yes. Anyone wish to change their vote?
Okay, next is any other business? Do we have any other business that needs to be brought before the commission?
Can I make one announcement, Chairman?
Yes, you may.
Just to let all the commissioners know, we're going to have 2 more classes on the tablets, February 4th and February the 11th, 5 p.m. in this room.
Motion to adjourn.
What time?
5 p.m. on February 4th and February the 11th.
Oh, I just meant Commissioner Fowler was.
One more, and I'll be quick, Ms. Ferguson. We talked about the handbook thing. Did a little research around here on this new handbook. Is something that this commission will have to approve. I don't know, I haven't seen our handbook, but I've been told we don't have a drug testing policy for new employees coming into the courthouse or anything we need to do. Might be something we need to start looking at because it's a very big factor. Put inside the handbook for new employees and set a standard for drug testing our employees.
We do have,
and including the commissioners too, and not just the.
We do have that incorporated in the next handbook that will pass, but y'all have budgeted too. You know what I mean? Because it takes money to budget.
I'll pay for mine
for testing. I've got your W-2s up here as well, so all the county commissioners use your W-2s.
Pass them out, you stand there. Okay, next commissioner meeting is on another Tuesday because the 15th is President's Day, so it's going to be on the 16th.
Any other business?
Just real quick,
Yes, Commissioner Frazier.
I don't know if the mayor's been read in on this yet or not, but I just kind of want to share that in case y'all haven't picked up on this. We got a whole lot of new people coming to our county. We got a lot of northern folks coming into this town. They're buying big properties and they ain't batting an eye.
No, they're not.
I had breakfast with 2 guys that you wouldn't think was nobody. They bought a tremendous amount of land down across from Bell's Welding. They're getting prepared to put in a 300-unit campground with a music venue down a private way. So be aware of these new people coming to our town and don't underestimate nothing. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, motion by Commissioner Hill and second by
Nope, that's Mr. Hill's power.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Did we adjourn? I'm not sure y'all how y'all. I don't really
They took out
You didn't get invited to that, did you?
What's that, Bo do thing?
Yeah.
You got yours.
You want to race?
You want to race?
You want to race? Hey, you take his money.
Been the hoppers here.
Thanks, sir. Don't ever make
thought she was mad at you about calling the Billy. Wouldn't it? Well, when Canada, that's a little bit different. He's still there for
Way back.
He didn't realize he was over right next to that
I don't have a problem with
I thought you've known me 50 years, you can't say my name.
I'm sorry, my guy had to bust out last minute.